Our Community Board meeting for Thursday the 19th of September. Nice to see you all here, a big turnout. I will ask Member Tyler Van to open us with a karakia.
Ki te mahi me te ngākau awaha, me te whakamahi ngā pukinga, me te mātauranga I roto I ngā wānanga me ngā whakatonga kia whakaturia e tētahi hapore e matatika ana. E tū kotahi ana ka motu ka whakapiki anō I te oranga o tō tātou rohi, ka whakatau anō I ngā take o te rohi I runga I te tika me te pono.
Okay. Right, we'll move straight into apologies. I have apologies this morning from Councillor Anne Court and Community Board Member Roddy Hapati Pihima. I will move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Lane. Any conflicts of interest in our agenda today? No, I would just like to point out personally on page 79, item 8.5, there may be a perceived conflict there from myself or Foster Hope Northland. For a number of years I have been a very good supporter of Foster Hope Northland, and up until last year I sat on a committee organising fundraiser lunches for the organisation for about from March to December, so for 10 months of the year. But I no longer sit on that committee, and we don't hold those monthly events. For those of you that know me from that role, I just thought I would declare that for you. Out of interest, you might like to know who we are, so I'll just go around the table, starting with Catherine. We'll introduce ourselves to you all. Hello everyone, I'm Catherine, I'm your funding advisor for Islands District Council.
Morena tātou, ko Peggy Bean aho, Islands District Council Principal Advisor, Strategic Relationships.
Ata Maria, ko Amy Taku Ingoa, I'm one of the Community Board members representing Kirikiri.
Morena tātou, Tyler Bamber, the Waihapa representative on the board.
Yes, good morning, I'm Bruce Mills, and I represent the Whangaroa Island.
Good morning, Lane Air, representing Kirikiri.
Belinda Ward, my career is the Paihi Waitangi subdivision. I'm your chief all day.
Good morning, my name is Marianne, I'm one of the democracy advisors.
Ata Maria, ko Jan Hendel Toku Ingoa, no kura rāringa aho, so I represent Russell and Opora and Maramaku.
Kuna koutou kia toa, ko Imrida Taku Ingoa, I am a democracy advisor.
Morena Kim Hammond, I'm the Community Board Coordinator for the Badlands.
Thank you, everybody. So with that, we will move right on into our deputation for today. We have Asha.
Thank you.
Welcome. So Asha is representing Transition Towns, Bay of Islands, Whangaroa. And we've given you 10 minutes. You have 3 speakers. We're sharing the time.
We're going to do our very best to finish that. So I'm just going to read so that I can get the most out of the time. So.
Oh, that's fine. Feel free. Would you like to step forward a bit? Okay. We are live streaming, so you are on camera and everyone can hear you.
Okay. Good morning to the Community Board and all in attendance. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today on a very important issue, and that is the ongoing issue of chemical sprays being used in public spaces and the harm and problems that they create. My name's Asher Anderson, and I'm here as an advocate on behalf of a number of community groups and organisations representing a large group of concerned members of the public, including many parents with young children. Zita and Jeff will speak after me. So the Council's received many complaints over the years regarding its use of the chemical glyphosate for weed management. These concerns, which are largely health-related, have continuously been ignored. The Council has never, to my knowledge, made any attempt to address these issues. Today we're here to ask that this change and that the Whangaroa District Council engage with communities to develop a non-toxic weed management policy. For those that are unaware, here are some of the serious concerns related to glyphosate and why we are asking for it to be removed from public places. It is the most widely used chemical herbicide in the world, and it's been found in many food products, including New Zealand manure honey. Internationally, it's been found in beer, oats, wheat, potato, soy, canola, lentils, cereal, among many, many other foods. So in recent years, MPI found the chemical in more than 20% of New Zealand honey sampled from across the country. It has been detected in rainfall in Canada, the USA and Argentina, and groundwater here in New Zealand. In 2015, the International Agency for Research on Cancer determined that it was a probable human carcinogen. Just a few of the documented health impacts include liver and kidney damage, endocrine and reproductive issues, metabolic syndrome, and chronic kidney disease. A 2024 study linked glyphosate levels to infertility in men. Children are especially susceptible to chemicals, and childhood cancer is continually on the increase. The most common cancers linked to glyphosate exposure are non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and acute myeloid leukemia. These are the most common childhood cancers in New Zealand. US courts have found direct links between glyphosate-based herbicide Roundup and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. 100,000 Roundup lawsuits have been settled, with Monsanto Bayer paying out $11 billion as of May 2022. There are still 30,000 lawsuits pending. A study from the University of Washington found that exposure to glyphosate increased a person's risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma by 41%. That is significant. In New Zealand, the incidence of this disease has increased significantly since glyphosate was introduced to markets here. So over the past few years, a People's Inquiry into the impacts and effects of these toxic chemicals and poisons collected people's experiences, and many people from Northland gave their submissions on how it impacted them and their families and their health. We've compiled information that we'd like the community board, councillors and staff to read and consider. This includes photos of inappropriate chemical spray use and some simple non-toxic solutions. A written list of issues reported most locally, including specific incidents, as well as a list of independent research and analysis, a report from the Human Rights Advisory on Auckland Transport's use of glyphosate, and an incident investigation draft report prepared for Whangaroa District Council regarding a contractor who sprayed over children walking along a footpath on the way home. This is a draft report that I hope the District Council will see. So while glyphosate might be touted as cheap and effective, it's not socially acceptable to put our communities at risk of continued exposure, nor is it acceptable that parents and kids are forced to avoid playgrounds and sports grounds, and that other members in our community feel unsafe in public places. So we'd like to see the council take the following actions. End the use of glyphosate-based herbicides in public places by council-contracted weed management companies, and develop a non-toxic weed management policy informed by community. We believe this would be a positive step forward in addressing some of these issues, and we look forward to engaging with councillors and community board. Thank you.
Thanks, Asha. And just for your information, you did receive an email yesterday from Transition Towns. If you haven't read through it, there's 4 attachments in there that Asha's referring to for the speakers tonight.
Zita, is that?
Yes, you are.
What's your surname? I'm sure we'll get that in writing. Apologies.
I just have Christian names here, Zita and Jeff.
Kia ora, everyone. Thank you for including spray issue in the agenda. It's a really important and serious issue, and I think the council will have to take some action. I should have mentioned most of the things, so I'm just going to go straight into examples because I live in Kirikiri and I came across contractors spraying, and I have approached them and I had a conversation with them. So on one occasion, there was a contractor spraying in front of the high school. It was at half term, so the high school was closed, but the area he was spraying was public area, so it was open to any public. There's a kindergarten next to the high school, and I was worried that the spray drip will go into the kindergarten and kids were playing outside. The fencing outside is not solid fencing. So I've asked him, I said, can you please don't spray that area because I worry about spray drip, spray drip. And he said, I already sprayed that area. So I just had a quick conversation. He said he was wearing a mask And he said, I would not be allowed to spray this spray in Europe. It's banned in my country. He was from France. And my question is, how come it's allowed to be sprayed here in public without any signage warning people that there is a chemical spray that can harm our health? Another occasion was on Waipapa on Landing Road. It's opposite the Cherry Park House, and I approached the contractor. He wasn't wearing a mask, didn't seem to be worried about safety, and I asked him, is it toxic? And he said, what's not toxic? He told me it was broadleaf spray that's used in all of the areas around Kerikeri and other places like Kaipia and Russell. He said nobody ended up in the hospital yet, and he told me it'll be fine after 20 minutes. But there was no sign to say, please don't enter this area you're spraying. Or I left, he was still spraying. And when I was coming back, I didn't see any sign. So for me, there's other examples, but because we don't have the time to go through it, the sports grounds, schools are all accessible to public. And I feel when they are doing the spraying, they need to put the signage up to warn the public. So I just want to say, I want the council and city care to show that they really care about the health of the environment. I believe that they have a legal obligation to protect public health as well as the environment.
Thank you, Zita. Great. And now we have Jeff. Welcome, Jeff.
Good morning. I'm Jeff House. I'm just a concerned local resident. And you're probably all aware of the term, the carrot and the stick. Well, Asher and Zita have presented carrot, I'm here to present the stick. You're probably all aware of the Local Government Act 2002, Section 5 interpretation. It says quite clearly, in this act, unless the context otherwise requires, territorial authority means the City Council or the District Council. So the FNDC is obviously a territorial authority. Now, Section 12, Status and Powers, states a territorial authority must exercise its powers under this section wholly or principally for the benefit of its district. Now, I firmly believe that the Far North District Council is in contravention of this part of the Local Government Act 2002 by using glyphosate-based chemical herbicides in public places. Ash has dealt with the lawsuits with Monsanto concerning Roundups, and there's no point in reduplicating it. I also firmly believe that the same case could be made in respect of fluoridating the water. Now, contravening a statute comes under the Crimes Act, Section 107, Contravention of Statute, and it states quite clearly everyone is liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 1 year who, without lawful excuse, contravenes any enactment by willfully doing any act which it forbids, or by willfully omitting to do any act which it requires to be done. So now we move on to personal injuries. Now, conventional wisdom in New Zealand is that you cannot file a personal injury claim because of the ACC Act. This is not true. Section 26 of the Act deals with what is and is not personal injury. And if it's not covered under the ACC Act, you can file suit. Section 26 of the Act defines exactly what is and what is not covered as a personal injury. Anyway, FNDC's got public liability insurance. I have a copy of the policy. There's a whole load of things that are covered as personal injuries under their policy, which are not covered under the ACC Act. So the council is on the hook for that. I could read the policy terms and conditions, but obviously I don't have time. Another interesting thing, the FNDC had its finance committee meeting on the 4th of September. Two of the items were renewal of insurance and potential liability. The insurance renewal was public, the potential liability was behind closed doors, which doesn't surprise me. It was probably relating to the documentation presented by the fluoride-free local folks. There's a whole load of stuff here about what the council can be sued for as far as personal injuries are concerned, and this glyphosate and fluoride stuff.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you all for coming and presenting to us. And Asha, you did request that this be forwarded to council, which we can forward those documents that you sent us. Either that, or you can go direct to council yourself, and you can also request. We're not involved in the decision making at that level, but it's very good that you come along to make us aware that in the communities that that's going on, those facilities where but you are able to do apply to council to do a deputation to the councillors who make those decisions.
Thank you. I think we will go ahead with that, and I think that we will be back to maybe apply for some funding to actually kind of show some positive ways of dealing with these things. Various areas that can be planted up that don't need to be sprayed. So there's lots of solutions. So I think we'll keep engaging with the community board and council on these issues until we get some positive movement in this direction.
Yeah, thank you. And Catherine Schuman on the end here is our funding advisor. If you need direction or assistance with any applications. And alternative avenues as well. There's a lot of different funding
as well. Bridges into beautification as well.
Lovely, thank you. Right, moving on, we have a number of speakers today for funding applications, and first up George Barlogo, representing the Graham Dingle Foundation. This is page 88 of your agenda. Morena.
Morena, Tato. You have before you an application from the Graham Dingle Foundation in regards to a mentoring program, Ngāti Whetitia Career Navigator, which is currently operating at Bay of Islands College, but also Northland College as well. In this brief presentation, I'm going to describe what this program is about, and then go on to describe the outcomes, evidence-based outcomes, and also just outline what the funds, if we were successful, what they be used for.
Sorry, George, I should have clarified. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. Awesome.
And you might want to leave some time for questions. Up to you.
I won't take 5 minutes. Okay, so basically, Ngāti Whetitia Career Navigator is a mentoring program. So the year 13s, the year 11s, selection of year 11s, mentor the year 9s, they come into the school. And it's been operating at Bay of Islands College now for almost 2 years, and the outcomes have been really good, and the school has been really engaged. During the course of the year, there are a number of community events that the mentors and that from the school do as part of their development. In turn, in the year, the mentors, the Tōkanga, are mentored by community mentors in the community. So that's how it operates. We're in the college 3 times a week, and in those one session, it's a double session, and that session there's activities given to the mentors, and then they go and mentor the year 9s. So it's live. So they in the space of 2 hours. How the case in terms of evidence of how it's worked, we have a research and evaluation team based at our national office that has another number of evaluation questionnaires and surveys that they send to the schools, and basically from that data we're able to basically see if the program is working. We also, in terms of delivery, we're there 3 times a week, like I've said, but also we talk about community events. Well, this year we had which the Tuakana run from the school. This year they ran the Matariki Twilight Gala at the end of term 2, and that Twilight Gala was a great evening. It started at 3 o'clock, we finished at 6, and during that time, people in the community were invited to come to the school and basically have stalls. There was performances in the hall, but it generally was a fantastic day, beautiful evening where the community could come into the school as well. And from that, we're able to get community mentors to mentor the tuakana, which is phase 3, which is happening now, and in the first three weeks of next week. So that, in essence, is the presentation. I'm open if you have any questions. It's probably a bit rushed, but
That's all right, you've got a couple of minutes.
okay.
Do you run this program in any other colleges in Northland?
Yes, we do. At Northland College, at Kaikoui.
That's fine. And you approach the community what they're doing.
Yes.
Yes, we have.
I ask you the questions. Thank you.
Through the chair, what's the split of students between Bay College and Northern College?
So in terms of
The number of students from Bay and Northland, so those are the total project costs.
yeah.
And you've got them for both schools. I'm trying to understand which percentage is for which college.
So I think Bay College are giving a lot of good traction there. Northland College we only just started
Right.
this year. So in essence we've got all the senior executive of the school there. So that's 20 odd kids there in the senior executive. So that's the head boy, deputy head girl, and so forth. At Bay College we have a lot more similar, but we've opened it up to year 11s as well. So it's kids still on their leadership journey. I forgot to mention too that as a development for this year, we found that the year 8s from the primary school, from Kawakawa Primary and from Moira Primary, they have wanted to transition their year 8s into year 9s of a program. So we reached out to them and we started that transition, and having that group of mentors, the tuakana, reached out to the year 8s at the primary school.
So you referenced the 146 students at Bay College, yeah? In your application, you talked about 146 students.
Oh yeah, so that's the senior school, the tuakana, as well as the cohort from the year 9s.
So you're looking to do the same number of students for Bay College this year?
Yes.
Just to know if you can get your project report form back in, not at the same time as your next funding application, that would be good. And the other thing about the project report form was that you acknowledged the Finals District Council rather than the Community Board. So if you can get Catherine to send you the right logo, that would be good. Send them another logo.
I do that if you grant them funding, I send out the funding.
So just make sure we use the right logo.
We're special at Community Board. We don't have a different logo to Council.
Yeah, so you've acknowledged on your Facebook page the Finals District Council, but actually it's the Community Board. Quite precious about that.
Sorry, it's my bad.
Thanks. You just sort of touched on some of the positive outcomes of this, and can you kind of maybe go into that a bit more? What are the long-term positive outcomes of this project?
Well, it's been, so I can send you the report if you want it. So I don't have the figures at hand, but just generally.
Yeah, generally, yeah.
Generally attendance at school, less stand-downs at school, less bullying at school. So those are the three things that I'm more than happy to share that. This data comes through at the end of the year.
No further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, George. We'll make a decision. You know how it works. Make a decision a bit later in the day and let you know. You're welcome to stay though. I'm sure you've got other things. Thank you.
She's that have to pop in for Whangaroa Arts Festival.
Just so members are aware, we have Councillor Dave Cupper online. He'll be coming in and out today when he's available. Just to acknowledge him if you are there. Next up, we have Miriana. She's here to speak to Te Kura Hatutohipa Te Kamura, which is actually on page 129. The additional information is on page 213. Hello, Mariana.
Morena, can you hear me?
I think you're muted.
No, she's not muted.
Us.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, we can't hear you, Mariana. She. Where's it gone?
Just technical hiccup of our end, I think.
Sorry.
It works.
Hang on. I'll go back out. Sorry. I will.
Let's try that.
Apologies, we're just trying to sort it our end.
Can you hear us now, Mariana?
I can hear you.
We got
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Awesome.
Great, welcome.
Thank you.
Chair, you've actually got 5 minutes to present to us on your application. You may want to leave some time for questions within that, up to you entirely. So the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you very much. E oku e te oku rahi e oku raurangatira tēnā koutou katoa. On behalf of Te Kura o Hatutohipa Te Kamura here in Kyle, Waitaruke Kyle, thank you for the opportunity to present our application to the board again. We are seeking financial support for our annual cultural festival, and this was an event that the board was able to support us with last year. So I'm just going to leverage off what took place last year and the impact of the funding and the need for our school to seek support again. So in 2023, the board approved funding for our event. The funding enabled us to successfully host our festival, and also probably the best festival we had ever hosted in the 20-year history. We had 7 schools represented, 5 schools performed, approximately about 300 young people, and over 400 people from all over the community in attendance. So just under 1,000 people came through that day across the course of that day. These numbers are significant. As a rural school, we're made up of 15 amazing young tamariki and 9 supportive families who are charged with the responsibility of organising and hosting our community of schools in this event. Being a small school doesn't come without its challenges, and given the financial and political climate that we're all in, I know there's just not a lot of money around. Traditionally, for 90% of the festival tenure, the school has fully funded this event. It wasn't intended to be a festival of the scale that it became in 2023. It was really an opportunity for our local district schools to come together and unite under a common cause. And that was one about celebrating achievement and success of young people and spotlighting talent. If you were on the panel last year, you may recall or remember this is some of the detail that I shared about the purpose of our event. One of the things that we changed last year was the provision of a stage, a covered stage. It's an outdoor event, and we are not a school that has a facility, and even within our community, has the facility to host a festival of this size. The closest we're going to get is the local college, who has a hall/gym. But this time of the year means we're not able to share that facility with the college as there are exams for NCEA happening at that time. So we have looked at other ways to host. with needing to provide these facilities, i.e. a stage, also came a marquee because the seasons have changed, and so to continue to hold an outdoor event, we needed to protect people from unpredictable weather, in particular rain. We've been rained off a couple of times in the tenure of my principalship in this school. We are extremely proud of this festival, not just my school, but this community. It is something that everybody expects to happen. And it is something that people have become very accustomed to as to what it looks and feels like in any given year. We do not charge people to come. We do not charge schools to register. We do use the opportunity, though, to fundraise for our school, as we have to recover some of the costs that are attributed to hosting such an event. It would be really remiss if we were to do something like go backwards now that we've come to this place in the event where we've shown the community that your kids deserve a platform to perform on, that we can successfully host an event that everybody can be proud of, and that it reflects the times that we are in. The request that is before the board today is about not just about asking for money, but about the board being a part and a partnership with our school and community in this event. And so the funding is also about that, an expression of partnership and a show of solidarity, and a time where there is just not a lot of money, and a time where we can use things like these to uplift our people. And give cause to celebrate even when things are challenging and difficult. And I guess that is also what we're asking of the board. And I do this not just on behalf of my school and the Board of Trustees and our families, but I do this on behalf of the community of Whangaroa. There is lots to be celebrated in this event. There is a lot there is a great sense of identity and belonging that is attributed to this event. And I'm just really hopeful that the board supports those types of endeavours and visions and wants to be a part of that as well. That's all I really wanted to share again this morning. I thank you for your time. Our board thanks you for your time and consideration of our application. And I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Kia ora, Mariana. That's your time, but I will take one or two quick questions if there's any.
How many people are we expecting to come through the event?
How many in total will come through the event?
We've never clicked the community coming through because, as I said before, it was always an event that was almost run at a zero cost. Yeah, so we've got, as I said earlier, we have 5 to 7 schools who may perform. That's around 300 children and all of their families who are connected to them, their community that are connected to them, who come and attend the event. So, you know, anything between 500 and 1,000 people. We've not really kept a kind of note of who's coming through. But it is, aside from, I don't know if you know the Pirimokana games that are held at Labour Weekend, it has that kind of, it's similar in terms of the type of community that comes and the scale.
Thank you. I just had one closing question, Mariana. You've applied for 5,220 and the recommendation today in our agenda is for 3,750. Should you not be successful or not get the full amount requested, how will that affect your fundraising for the event? Will you still be able to go ahead?
Yeah. I guess what we have applied for is about 10% of the total cost of the running of the cost of what it will take to run this event. So the school is committed, and by virtue of the fundraising that we run, is we attempt to fundraise so that we can continue to host these things are not cheap. And so that's what we've applied for. That's the percentage of the total cost that we've applied for.
Thank you. Lovely. Well, that concludes your presentation with us, and we'll make our decision a bit later in the day and be informed. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay. Right, moving on. Our next speaker is Maura Bailey-Bell, representing Hidden Products Production in relation to the item 8.5, which is on page 97. I will be reading. That's fine. You're presenting. You heard how we roll at 5 minutes. Yeah. You might want to leave yourself a minute. Yes, thank you. For clarity, the closest thing to the new show that I'm asking for funding assistance with would be a show that many of you might have heard of, The Bitches Box. It's a small touring show, very Kiwi, no? Not me. Okay, it's a very rural show. It's actually being filmed now by New Zealand On Air because it's gone down so well. Now that's a smaller show. Mine is a theatre production, and no one said don't write a full-length musical production because they should have. People don't write these anymore because they're expensive to put on and they take a lot of effort and they really get off the ground. However, Clock's got a similar vibe to the Bitches Box, encompassing the grassroots flavour of New Zealand. We received Creative Impact funds from Creative New Zealand, which allowed us to polish the script and design the essential elements of the show. The monies are distributed between the various creative artists within the community, and that is strengthening Kitty. However, assistance is needed to aspects that need funding prior to ticket sales. These are the rehearsal venue hire and the makeup supplies. The venue we have secured, the Magic Playhouse Warehouse, will be used exclusively for flock rehearsals. This allows what is usually unheard of in community theatre. We can actually build the set within the rehearsal space and rehearse within it. The quote from the Magic Playhouse is, I believe, very undervalued for what we'd be getting for the money. One of the reasons that we need this, and why it's particularly important, is we have a relatively short rehearsal time to produce a brand new show, and that's just a little over 3 months. This short period of time, because we're deliberately starting rehearsals after the Summer Shakespeare of The Tempest, because several actors and crew like to participate in both productions. We've also brought forward our production dates to accommodate the Battle of the Bands final, which the Turner Centre had been bidding on for several years, and this was the same dates that I had already booked. Now, since submitting this application, I visited a store called Body Effects in Auckland to see if sourcing locally for the makeup would be possible. Their makeup is actually more expensive, but they have asked if they could assist us and fully design the makeup and teach us how to apply it for our performances. This is totally free of charge. There's even no obligation to buy their products. They've made that very clear. We just need to take a van of key cast to Auckland for the day. However, we will reward them with advertising, which they haven't asked for that either. The designer is actually a special effects makeup artist and a senior judge in Auckland for competition work. We are planning on marketing through to the general public, all of Northland schools, the extensive retirement sector within Kerikeri and surrounds, and most importantly to the rural sector. Much of the show content centres around farming activities. There will be extensive social media advertising, radio interviews, and press releases to reach a wide audience. It's a little harder to sell a show that nobody is already aware of. You can get everyone to see The Sound of Music or Little Shop of Horrors if it's something they've already enjoyed. There are a number of people, including my very talented cast and crew, who believe it could be a cult classic, which is a little bit like Rocky Horror Show. We have our fingers crossed. The show will actually take until the final night, this is from one of our mentors, Stuart Devaney, to finally finalise every last part of it. It develops through workshops, which I've funded. I've also already paid for professional mentors through Play Market to bring the show up to a very high standard, but it's never complete until the final night. Once the final night, the curtains come down, I go away, rewrite it, and then if it's either there for us to tour, which is twice as expensive, or to allow to send around for other companies in New Zealand to perform. As a new entity, this show and Hidden Pocket Productions, which is the body created to launch the show, had no funds. I spent 4 years of my own money to write Flock, have it professionally assessed, have table readings and workshops, and build our team of very experienced and talented theatre practitioners and professionals. Creative New Zealand has actually validated my efforts. They read the script and feel that it has potential. Many thanks for your time and 1,000 questions.
Thank you, Maura. Questions? Jane?
Yeah, well done on getting the 47K from. That was impressive. The only Northern person to get funding, so clearly you must have done a good job.
It took me from, so everyone has self-doubt when they're creating things.
So the interest keeping time done. You've still got the shortfall of about 48K, that's right? Roughly a shortfall of about 48K to put a reduction on. So have you got a budget for the revenue from the ticket sales and stuff? I just understand your budget.
Okay, yes. At the moment, the 47,000 is going to the creatives, and it does also, it covers the cost of the set build and the costumes, not making the costumes, not necessarily building the set. That's all community work that's going to be put into that. The ticket sales, we have 3 shows booked that are 3 evening shows, but we want to put on a schools matinee, and we also want to put on a senior show as another matinee. If this goes well, we will also try and take it down to the Fringe in Friendly, which is a couple of minutes later, as long as I can still maintain my cast and they're not doing something else. We have a number of potential community businesses that we've approached for some funding, which will fit in with their advertising campaigns.
Yeah, I guess, we just want to make sure that you're going to get there.
Yeah, well, put it this way, out of the 47,000 in terms of mentoring, I was supposed to receive 1,500, and that's just turning around and going back in. So I have a lot of people who will wait to be paid until after the ticket sales, which is why our advertising is so important. Right.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to butt in. So how long have you rented the town centre for?
The town centre is just 1 week.
Just one?
Yeah, I'm not asking for funding for the town centre. So, yeah, it's 8 days. The town centre has actually been very kind here and have given us 1 day for free because I moved our show for them.
So you have the potential of about 2,500 seats.
Yes.
And that's with plus the.
If it sells out really, really well, I'm going to bump our pack-out day and put on another show. We've had our fingers crossed.
And I'm sure the ticket price was in there somewhere, but I ran out of energy.
I'm not surprised what to go through. Originally, we were thinking that we wanted an average of 40, but as we want to give discounts to senior citizens and keep the schools down, it would be an average of about 35.
And senior would be additional.
Yes. So we've got the 3 shows plus the matinee. Because it falls now in Matariki, we need to be culturally careful that we're not infringing on any of the Matariki celebrations or pretending that the show is part of them. It is quite separate.
I'm saying it's good to see that it's happening now off season. We really like to attract events and people to the area. So thank you for thinking about that.
I just had a question about involving local students in the cast. And so is it mostly for like the kind of theatre company?
No, I am not theatre company. I'm part of the theatre company. I've done props for 5 years, 5 or 6 years. This is an independent production. It's like on a farm. And if you want to read the script, I'll give you a little look. It has about 8 youngsters, because I need lambs. 2 of the leads are lambs, and the rest are adults. If there aren't any youngsters who actually want to be part of it, then we have to use slim adults. Because the ewes are generally, if they're not the right size, we are putting padding in. So
I think it's really important to include the local. It has
everyone.
Container, because sometimes it's all just the local adults and
no, it's not. It has up to 9 youth. It has people who can sing, people who can't sing, people who don't even need to talk, because there are a few mute roles in there. It is a full-length stage musical, but it has roles that could include anyone. Yeah. I did actually make it once that everyone had to speak with a broad Kiwi accent, but that limited my cast, so we've got everybody now.
I guess my question is just following on from Jane is assuming you get funding from us, what's your break even on ticket sales? Like how many ticket sales do you have to make in order to make sure that
originally it was we were working on 24,000, but that was 4,000. That was only for the 3 shows at 50% film, which is 24,000. So that was our break even. If we fill 5 shows or 6, Jerry's not listening, then that will help cover. Some people...
so in a 50% capacity across your shows, is that okay? That's your break even?
That's our break even.
That's conservative.
Yeah, sure.
I'm hoping it's a little more.
Yeah. Conservative is always good.
Yeah. The whole thing about this was, and the reason for applying to Creative New Zealand, is so many people do everything for nothing. And the Creative New Zealand Impact Fund funds people so they can continue with their artistic work around the community. And so I can pay the woman who is our choreographer who is teaching children to dance. I can pay her in her professional capacity to do that, as opposed to making her give up all her time to do it for me for nothing. And that goes across the board. So that's where that money is going.
Thank you very much. All the best with the show production.
Thank you.
Sure some of us will be attending.
I hope so.
We'll make our decision a bit later in the day, as you've heard, and you'll be notified.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, moving on. Next up, we have David Senior. Welcome, David. Nice to see you.
Is it okay if I talk here, or will you?
You can come forward. We are actually live streaming. So, yeah. David's here to speak for our Northern Community Family Services on page 108. Nice to see you back again, David.
Oh, yes.
Welcome.
Yes. This is Christina. She's Christine. She's one of our contractors. We have 2 contractors that work part-time each. And she's just come to escort me today so I don't get lost, which is quite a good idea, really, in Kerikeri. Yeah, hi. Look, we've put an application in. First of all, thank you so much for supporting us in the past. And the last time I was here was in 2022 when you supported us. And at the time, some of your people asked questions about the clientele we see. And yes, it was. We do see a lot of clientele outside of this immediate area. And the suggestion was made that we contacted the Kaikouri Community Board and put an application in there, which we've done as well at this point. So that's what we've done this year. We've taken on that suggestion. That's where that's at. Couple of things I need to let you know. You will see in the application that we've applied for funding up till now. We've heard from 2 of the 3 applications that we have had, and I just thought I'd let you know what we did get. I think from memory now, Northern, whatever they were called, foundation thing, we applied for about 13.5. We ended up getting 7. And COGS, we applied for 10 and we got 5. And the only one, the other one that's outstanding at the moment is lotteries, and we haven't heard from them yet. We expect to hear from them in about October.
Sorry, David, if you could just repeat that, I just found the page. So Foundation North, we got 7,000.
We got 7, yeah.
Applied for 13.
Yeah.
COGS.
COGS, we applied for 10 and got 5.
5.
And the other one we haven't heard from yet, and we expect to hear in October.
Lotteries and the other board, I think, meet tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, that's correct. Yeah, sorry. As you can see, we've been around for a while and doing a wonderful job in this community, but it's really getting very, very tough out there to get funding now to run the program. And as you would see that our contractors, they actually did just over 2 months of voluntary work because we couldn't afford to pay them during that period of time, which was really grateful. And we've started back now paying them now. Well, how long the funding will last, we don't know, but there's a real need there. And at the time when we put the applications in, which was about June, I think, so I'm not sure why it took this long to come to the board. But anyway, the bottom line is at that point we had about 800 clients that have been passed through our books in the last 12 months, probably a few more by now. And I'm really happy to answer any questions, but, you know, Christine here is, sorry, I keep calling her Christina, is our budget advisor and a mentor, and she might be able to answer some of the questions if I can't.
Thanks, David. Questions?
I have one question. I saw that the Baptist ministries didn't provide you with a grant last year.
We don't apply for them now.
Because they gave you $15,000 the year before.
Quite a while ago now,
Would have been a couple of years back, yeah.
I think they tied in somehow to the Tyndall Foundation or something. And because we are not a budget service that the Northern Community Family Services run out of the Baptist Church building. We actually pay rent.
I saw that. Yeah. I just wondered why you didn't apply to them last year.
I can't remember the reason, but there is some reason why we can't apply to them.
Oh, okay.
And you would have seen in the documentation, last year was a very difficult year for us because our manager was away with some major illnesses for probably 6 months of the year. Hence why, we've just done our annual report the other day, actually, and hence why, our funding last year in total and the amount we spent was a lot less because she was away for 6 months. So we missed out on putting a lot of applications in during that period of time. So we've really sort of tried to catch up, but at the end of the day, it's very, very tight to get funding, full stop.
We also do a lot of whānau support work now where we help clients that can't perhaps afford lawyers and things navigate the court system and help them write affidavits and things like that. So we are also a whānau support service as well as.
Yeah, and we work in conjunction with the food bank because in fact our staff do a lot of the handing out of the food parcels during the week, and so we work in conjunction with the food bank as well. So,
Christine, I see your return clients have over doubled in the last year.
People coming back.
Yeah, why are they coming back? Are they needing more assistance or are they?
It's just really hard out there. People just, we sort of keep them on our books, but we say, okay, you don't need to come back unless you run into trouble again, and we'll see you again. We have clients that have been left our service 3 years ago coming back because they're just not managing again now with the prices of things going up.
You're talking about the food bank side of it?
No,
Council and the mental health side of it.
both mental health and also the cost of living. And I mean, we're getting families where there's two incomes coming in, and they can't manage. Like I had a new lady come in yesterday. Their rent in a house rurally is $800 a week. Her husband only gets between $760 and $800 a week, and the rest is topped up by family assistance that they get from IRD.
Actually, you asked the question. I'm not surprised, unfortunately, to hear that there is repetition, and I suspect it's not going to get any better in the next little while. But no, that kind of answers the question.
People, a lot of people, especially if we call them the working poor, are just so embarrassed about having to come in and seek assistance.
The other thing that's been told to me is that we're getting a lot of people coming in for around social housing and all that type of stuff. So although we don't provide that, at the end of the day we can't just turn them away. We've got to point them in the right direction of where to go and so forth. And WINS, we do so much, but there's a lot of stuff now they don't do, and they don't really know where to turn.
Appreciate your point.
Yeah. I'm just fingering through my paperwork today because you had quite a thick application, and I did have a couple of dog-eared pages there to ask questions, and I can't find the other one, but it related to the substantial amount lost when your key worker was absent with illness.
Yes.
So was there no backup plan to enable you? I think it was 11,000 you lost.
That had to be returned to pub charities.
Yeah, what actually happened, we applied for pub charities last year, and the chap that did it on our behalf, he said it was for 6 months, but in fact it was only for 3 months. Under the Charity Act thing, but the long of it short was there's some misunderstanding going on. So during that period of time, we tried to be conservative with the amount of money that was given to try and make it last. But at the end of the day, the 6-month period, we were told, oh no, it wasn't about that at all. So any money you got left, you got to pay back, including her money that was allocated to the manager who was away, being the contract person, you don't have to pay them. And so we had to return that 11,000, whatever the figure was. And we did that, but it really sort of didn't help. Yeah, stung. That's the nice way of putting it.
That clarification, David. Any questions? No, that's it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And sorry I had to go off of other things, but lovely to see you all here again, and it's good to know it's working well in this community, which is neat. I've been living here now 3.5 years. I came back from Kaitaia, and it's good to know you've got a good active community board here. So
David, you're an ex-community board member, aren't you?
Yes.
So you know how we roll.
Yes. Okay.
Lovely to see you. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Okay, next up we were going to have Lorraine, and we now have Joey. Is that Joey? Sure. Come forward. So this is for the Piri Waramu Rockland Marae Games, which is actually on page 116 of your agenda. Come forward.
Thank you. I have to, I'm the stand-in person.
Short straw.
Our person's gone for New Way. Lucky you. Lorraine. So, yeah, I got a call last night. So I hope I can do it justice best I can. But I appreciate the opportunity. And thank you all for allowing me this great opportunity, actually. And I'll just start with basically who I am. I'm Darwin Morgan, and so I'm actually the grandfather to the naming of this person that holds this tournament, Piri Waramu Mokina. He's my grandfather. My father's Amato Mokina. My young fella that's just running around here, I've named him after my grandfather who holds this tournament. So
It's quite an important tournament to me, my whānau and our hapu. It's been going for 40 odd years, 41 years. I've personally been playing my whole entire life, playing this tournament since I was 12, so about 30 odd years ago. And it was only until last year, partner decided to tell me, hey, stop playing rugby and you might have to get into the administration side of things. So I've only just grafted myself back home last year. So again, it's another great opportunity for me to be helping at that end for my grand finals tournament. I was actually provided a presentation and told, can you chuck it up? But I was too nervous to ask anyone to put it on the board. So I'll just wrangle what I can say.
And green around. That's great.
Oh, yeah. We have the technology.
These young women.
Perfect. A little bit about myself. I left when I was 13 with Whānau Boys High. I joined the military and I spent about 10 years in the military, served overseas. Afghanistan, East Timor, so diversity has been quite familiar within the spaces of my lifetime. I only came back 2 years ago, and last year was the first time I actually facilitated and assisted this tournament. And the tournament, like I mentioned, has been quite an influential one in terms of the whangaro rohe, in terms of our relationship, our whanaungatanga, and all our connection for all of our people. It's based on hosting 18 or eligibility of 18 marae in the whangaro community, and it's based on rugby and netball. This year, however, I've changed it up and we've got a bit of a different flair. As long as you whakapape and whāngai to the marae, you're eligible to play for the tournament. We approximate 3,000 people that participate on the 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, and it's all inclusive. That's all kaumātua kuia. We have a kaumātua kuia tent. We have all volunteers and all based at the Kaia Rugby Club. Actually, and I'm not too sure if anyone knows, but traditionally back in the time when the tournament first started, it was actually to the marae to host the tournament, and they would host on their whenua, i.e. at Wainui would host it at the grounds of Wainui, Tanaere, marae, and etc. So that was actually quite a unique part of the growth of the tournament. And actually there's a reason why it's actually a sustainable tournament, because the connection and the purpose and the mana of the tournament is there, and it was there right from the beginning. And so now that we're at Kaia Rugby Club and it happens every year, not to say that the marae actually can take it back to the marae if they want to. We project at the moment, we're projecting about 660 players or participants, which are inclusive in that 3,000. So that's a huge projection for this year. That is not the projection from last year. That's my projection from the tournaments that I'm creating for this year. So what's additional is that the men's teams and the netball teams have always been stated every year. But we're going to run midgets, 8, 9s, 10, 11s, under 13s and 15s to bridge that gap, because it's been always something that I've seen over time that we want to create opportunities for our young people, and also to foster and bring them up, because we always need replacements when our old bodies start getting a bit creepy. The other benefit is massive for our community. It's always known, BP always starts selling more petrol. Our force always starts selling more kai. So it's massive for the community of Whangaroa. Why the funding needed? The biggest reason why we need this, and it's actually essential, we can't run the tournament otherwise, is based on the portaloos. The toilets aren't sufficient enough at the club. Ambulance, our first aid, we absolutely need that. There's always old people like myself that get injured. And who are you looking at that? You're eligible. And our shelter, our facility at the Kaia Club is also the 3 elements. I will mention, now I don't want Mike because I haven't been able to confirm exactly, but there is possible discussion. I will share it, is that we applied for Foundation North. A part of Foundation North, there was an element there of the haulage fee, which I believe is in this application. And I say believe because I haven't seen the application. And so I just want to disclose that, is that the haulage fee, I believe, is in this application. We received it from Foundation North just 2 days ago. So I just want to disclose that part.
Because I know that as a question, because you doubled it up. We're a backup funder in case you didn't get the foundation course. It says in your application that you haven't seen.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
So they've disclosed it there.
Oh, good. Yeah. Good.
Good to know. We do read it.
the emphasis of our tournament, and not that I met my grandfather, but he was a huge rangatira of the area, and he was huge about whanaungatanga, whakapapa, and that's the huge element on the success of this tournament. And hoping that we can all be a part of that journey. In conclusion, this is the conclusion. We need to maintain connection for all of our whānau, and this enables us to do that. Last one is not in the slide, and probably not even in the, and I want to take opportunity, I'm always person of an opportunity. Yes, there may be the porridge fee that we may have received from Foundational, which you may then consider. I'll also like to consider this, is that I've only just returned home. One of the big elements of our tournament sustainability is our reassurance of our hosts that host the marae, and that's real problematic because it's way too much mahi for whānau that do other things. So yes, I've come home. Yes, I see an opportunity, and all I want to table to the community board is that the haulage fee is then possibly not needed. Would we consider a sustainable option for next year so that we can reduce the stress and administration issues that we all find trying to stand up tournaments? So being the haulage fee, would that be moved for next year to give us some assistance or reassurance for the following year? But also more importantly is that it's a resurgence of increasing this game where this tournament, where we're going to have way more people involved, way more whānau involved, and way more connection with everyone, that if we look at sustainable models of trying to gain reassurance, then we're not going to end up like Honiheke Cup. I don't know if anyone knows what Honiheke Cup is. We're not going to end up with a Honiheke Cup result, which means the Māori tournament of Honiheke is just diminished and nobody competes for it. There's no mana in it anymore. Northland Rugby at the moment, they've just disclosed last week, and I'm included in the Northland Rugby Courts committees and stuff. Northland Māori Rugby has diminished over the last 5 years as well. And again, it's the same thing. There's no sustainability talk in those two elements. There's no look at future planning and succession planning, and I don't want that to happen to our tournament. So please consider that.
Well, thank you. And I don't think Māori rugby is going to diminish in your area because you have all black from Kaio. So all eyes are on the village of Kaio when it comes to Mrs. Williams. Thank you for that presentation, and welcome home.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yes, Maria's got short straw again this year. But she was talking about for next year, at least marae that you pulled out of the hat, don't you?
Yeah.
So are you representing the whole committee or?
Good question. Good question. So each hosting marae creates a committee to then host that year. It's drawn out of the hat at the end of each tournament. My father and auntie are the overall committee that is the committee for the Piri Mokina itself, and they are the overarching committee. We're in discussion to revamp that, and I'm the one that's been instigating that. And what I want to look at is sustainability in terms of our tournament.
Tala was on the committee board with me years ago. So come to me too. So goes back on that.
We funded a marquee for last year. We funded that marquee. So that's part of the sustainability contribution.
Amazing. Yeah, like I mentioned, I played most of my contributions were putting my boots on. So always seen the great.
Sounds like it was compulsory.
Yeah, it was first.
No further questions? Thank you for your patience. I know we have a number of speakers today, and so we're in one, not easy. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
And we'll make our decision.
Because we've been time. Thank you.
Okay, so it's Jerry. Is Jerry here?
It's Marita and Teresa will be speaking on behalf of the This Us here now.
Oh, okay. So we've got Jerry, we've got yes, yeah. Representing the centre, page 135.
You can pass it along.
Just a little visual column, just to be creative. So
That's your brainchild. Your brainchild. This event.
Brainchild.
Brainchild.
Yes. This is the There's so many.
Okay, welcome. Koutou katoa. Whiria te tangata, ka puta he oranga, whiria ngā mahi toi, ka puta he tina rangatiratanga. Weaving people promotes well-being. Weaving the arts promotes excellence. Ko Teresa H.R. Lane, toko ingoa, Ronga Kauri, toko kainga. I'm a creative, I'm a mixed media artist, I'm a weaver, and I'm a mother of many. We are here to introduce This Is Us Here and Now. Ngā mihi to all of you for receiving us today. Kia ora koutou.
Ko Marita Takurinwa. I'm also an artist and I live and breathe the arts, and this is a particularly exciting concept for me because I've never had the opportunity to outreach ideas into the community and to create an interactive participatory experience to create a bigger portrait that's not just about me and my life but about everything. So Marita.
What do you do with people to the artists? Share it with the people in this room.
We just wanted to remind you about how important art is to engage the viewer with an experience which provokes it, to stimulate their thoughts and feelings. It can move you or amuse you or perhaps make you wonder. We as artists make objects or interactions about what it is to be human at this time and place. Art is a powerful form of communication across time to be understood around the world, regardless of the language that we speak. For example, artists told stories and ideas from ancient Egypt to Renaissance Rome, from the Pacific voyages to the life of a fiery Mexican woman long gone, whose name we will today. Art's purpose is to speak to us all using more than words. This is the example of the starting point of where we're at. And so I'll hold it up and Teresa's going to answer the question about how our project is going to tell the stories about us here now. This Is Us Here Now is a creative vision to create an enormous banner. This is just a tiny little starting point. Our objective is to weave creativity and well-being back into our community, to embrace diversity, storytelling, creative stories, collective imagination, and most importantly, reach out to our smaller communities that aren't right here in Kirikiri. And on top of all of these wonderful things, we want to address the conversation about conservation, because everything that Marita and I do is done with recycled materials, the found objects, the repurposed objects. So there's so much to pick and choose out of in what we're doing. Now, do you have any questions for us? Sure we do. Who would like to come?
I just have a thank you. I've read through like how you're going to incorporate loads of people's input. Where do you think it would be displayed, or would it move?
Well, Jerry's been incredibly supportive to allow the initial display of it to be here in the bar, Theatre Bar, and we ideally imagine it to be able to cover this wall and drape down, potentially even be rigged up and over like a ceiling. But that all depends on how much participation, how our workshops go, how many workshops we can afford to do as to the scale. But the 2 centimetres would be the starting point. But we're really happy for the lifespan of the work to go further than that, and are absolutely open to any groups who may wish to use it for anything else.
we've got an end-of-life responsibility and paying for it to become a weed mat too. Teresa lives in Tony Bay and is working on reforesting a large farm area. And so it's really important to us that all the materials that are used are both organic and gradable to that capacity too. But yeah, that's our starting point. But we're happy for it to go wherever anyone's keen. Yeah. Any other questions?
Why do we read pages and pages and pages? Because your end of life is what interested me. And I was like, of course, it's going to go back to the end. I was just like, damn, I wish that was on page 1.
You take some waste in New Zealand.
It's terrible.
Incredible.
I know.
Yeah, so what we hope is that and also I'm really interested in the way in which the clothes or the fabrics that, we lay in bed with or they tell a story of who we are and the lives that we lead, and myself, I'll use garments and then they get a little bit older, so they become gardening clothes and then they become painting clothes and then if they're organic, I put it straight into the compost out in the garden,
But in this case, they do
Yeah, so what we hope is that the members of all communities can contribute that too. We might get saris, might get woven pieces, and we might get all kinds of treasures of old portraits of people in the lives of where they've been, which will be collaged together into this tapestry as a portrait of our.
So I guess it got me thinking about the adhesion and will there be sewing machines, will there be things available to show kids different ways of other than glues and, the whole craft of fabric and textile?
The idea is to kind of tap into different ways of crafting. So absolutely sewing. We may need to glue things, we may need to staple things, but the intention is that it will be sewing together. Yeah. As it grows logistically, there may be, a few challenges. The bigger it gets as to how we bind it together. So, whether that will be using wool or who knows?
Yeah.
This is very much an organic project and it's about reaching out to people, drawing them in to participate with this lovely piece of art.
Yeah, so it's not about creating a professional finished piece, it's that we encourage everybody's contribution. They don't need to feel like they're good at it, we need to put it on and create a little badge of themselves or something like that. So we've tried to construct a range of different briefs to make it accessible for everybody to feel like they can contribute to it. And we have invested in an industrial sewing machine already, which I've got in my studio, trying to figure out how to work. And I know that the op shops will be incredible supporters too, of helping supply any downfall of materials and protect sewing machines and things like that too. But we also want to outreach the making process to a lot of our retirees too, because we have a feeling that it's really good helpers on board and we really hope that we do when it comes to constructing all the different contributions that come from schools or Guy or anything like that. And while a lot of the workshops will be held here at the Turner Centre, we are happy to and will certainly explore outreach to wider areas, including as far as Russell or to Kaiwa. Yeah, to increase participation.
You're aware of taxation in Russell, are you?
Yes, that exists.
Yeah. I mean, this is part of the reason that we're looking for funding so that we can go further. Jerry has kindly supported us with funds and the space already so that we can be doing it here. And part of the conversation that we had was we want this to be our wider community. So that's why we kind of come to the board to say, can you support us so that we take this further than and reach out to Kaukara, Russell, and the Pondora. Bye-bye.
So just to get my head around it, like, I mean, when I read it, I just envisaged one humongous piece. Is that the vision? Yes. So it's not like pages of story like that.
No, so this would continue to grow. You know, if you imagine this as a starting point, like there are bed sheets that stitch on around here, and we put on somebody's knitting here, and patch there, and it just collages together. If we use steel pins, we think that might also expedite certain things. But the top edge of it will need to be really secure to manage the weight as it grows, and storage is also another consideration. And again, the Turner Centre have agreed to assist with the storage of it in between and as it's growing. But we may need to outsource perhaps a sail maker to make some really nice solid rungs to stitch along the top to make sure that when we get, say, I was actually thinking bamboo along the top so that it would just base and then it would hang.
Aren't they things about problem solving? Yeah. So, you know, we've had this incredible vision. We started in the space because we both exhibited here a few months ago, and we kind of had this vision of, wouldn't it be amazing to just shroud this entire space in this banner that we made. So that's how big vision. And you've got to have a big vision.
Thank you. I think I can visualise the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
It'll be humongous.
Please humour us. I hope so.
Amy, sorry, just one more question about the organic materials and fabrics. Is that going to be quite prohibitive in terms of op shops and, you know, like the clothing waste we see? It's not generally organic.
Well, this is going to be one of our challenges again that we're going to have to work out how to do.
It's a shame not to be using that waste.
Yeah, we talked about that in tents too. Or, I mean, polyester is, that's certainly a thing that we're going to have to triage as it comes in, I think. Because to ensure that the end-of-life responsibility is kept up. I couldn't really conceive of a way to deal with the textile waste in a responsible way with things like nylon and all the polyester-rich fabrics that most. It's quite interesting. I found a pair of underpants that my son had left out his window, you know, because he was a teenager. And it was in the garden, and I was gardening, and I was like, what's this? And it was the elastic, and all the cotton had rotted away, and it was the perfect skeleton of underpants of a plastic elastic. So, you know, that's what it does. Well, perhaps a phase 2 can be all polyester nylon when you come up with another scheme, because I guess, you know, there are certainly manufacturers that want to do textile recirculation and things like they can now weave it into another fabric and it can be used for shade sails or something that's got more long span. I don't know.
Different blends and
so perhaps round 2 could be more. I mean, the thing
plastics.
If friendly. Depending how this grows, you know, I think these are really interesting conversations that we would like to be able to take into the school environment with young kids. You know, this is, you know, talks to them. It's fun. It's engaging as well. Whilst also getting people who are after your job. So lots of options, lots of possibilities.
You're of course going back in history, aren't you? Because the great tapestry in England, Norman tapestry, is an enormous thing that goes on. Covers buildings.
Absolutely. Culturally so rich. But all around the world.
That's a bio tapestry.
It's like a bio tapestry. That's amazing. I mean, they, like you say, they are a sort of a documentation of history without a doubt. And you know, there's statements. A banner is a statements, commentary, storytelling. It's all of those things. And even the patches are going to be banned, aren't they? There's things going on. Gang patches, for example. Right, exactly. You know, there's really incredible craft work in the leather craft work. That drops down, but we are
Stimulating creative genes.
yeah. We've gone well over time.
It's really drawn us in. I did want to just know in closing whether you were successful with creative communities. Have you heard from them yet?
Not yet.
I have a note here that I was going to give them. They got $2,760.
Oh, that's okay. So that helps.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And my final question was, you applied to us for 6,500 and the recommendation here is for 3. How?
It just limits our workshops.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're trying to pay ourselves, like many other people who have stood up here today, is that we've already donated a hell lot of time in the conception and planning of this project.
Sure.
And so for it to enable, it means that we can afford to take the time out of the other businesses that we run and things that we do to be able to do this community. Yeah. But so as much as you can give, we will utilise efficiently. Yeah.
And it will be launched before Christmas, is that the plan?
That's the plan, yeah. So depending on funding, we will need to review our workshop schedule. Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, but the idea is actually for the launch of it to have like community pop-up.
Yeah, so that, yeah.
We're trying to develop that very popular, so we invite all the people who participated and anyone else and enjoy stuff.
Now, on the recycling, you're welcome to have one back here. It's a small sample of that and big sheet. We'll need one for the. Thank you. You can share those.
We can sew them onto the piece. Yeah, the funding. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your patience and waiting. And finally, we have Catherine. Welcome. This is for Waitangi Māori Committee on page 141.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of our application, and begin by apologising for the rudiments and state of our application. It's a bit of a vicious circle. We haven't got resources. Some of the applications are a bit of an art in themselves. We haven't got computers or printers or anything, but we're seeking some seeding funding to replicate a program that we initiated in the Wairarapa 25 years ago. So it started off under the name Let's Get Growing, and it evolved out of the former Carterton Community Centre. When it closed, we took over the community garden, and we had a problem getting funding at all, so we implemented our program without any funding. And our aim is our initiative is a self-sustaining model, which hopefully the seeding funding, once we get going, the program will fund itself as it did in the Wairarapa. Now, so we had problems in the Wairarapa with suicide and addiction and mental health issues, things like that, that I noticed happening here too. And our success was well documented and our results are proven. And given a little bit more time, we can provide you with the names of referees and people who can attest to the success of our program. So we started at the main community garden in Carterton, and we had a contract with the Department of Corrections. We got everyone down and sooner or later doing their community hours. So we got every criminal in town sooner or later, usually at the beginning of the criminal career. I train horses, and horses are about 10 times as big as me and mostly made of bone and muscle, which I'm not. And the only secret to horse training is to make the horse, inspire the horse to want to do what is required of it of its own true will, and preferably in the long term so that you can trust it when you turn your back on it. Now, the people that came to our community garden were some broken, damaged people. Some of them had been abused as kids. Some of them, their wife had left them, run off with their best mate, taking the kids and all that. They were, so the first thing is they're all individuals. When you get down on your hands and knees in the dirt with people and you ask them how they are, and you be quiet long enough, they'll tell you. And once you find out where their buttons are, then you can start to fix the things that can be fixed. Some things can't be fixed, and you just have to make your way forward in life. With the cracks, there's a crack in everything. That's how the light kicks in. And our record of success in Carterton was huge. We changed the whole community. People walked into our community garden as criminals and they left our garden. They didn't want to commit crimes anymore. We found, I was boarding school matron too for a while. My dad was in the army. All we ran was not a boot camp, but it looked like one. It started at grassroots level. People came to understand why they had to get to the garden at a certain time. It got hot later. And we gave them a responsibility and they fell into that responsibility. We found a lot of the problems with boredom and poor self-esteem and low money. And we implemented a model called the Virtues Program. And it's about, like a lot of those people, their poor self-esteem came from being called dumb and stupid and useless. A lot of them fell through the cracks of the education system. And so we just set about putting different labels on them. We noticed whenever they did anything good. The Virtues Program, it's centred around 52 virtues. There's obviously more than that. But it's just a question of noticing when people do good things and commenting on them and making them realise that they're not dumb and stupid and useless. They're actually good and thoughtful and diligent and they persevere at jobs and they're thoughtful, all sorts of things. You know, you can change people by just putting those different labels on them. And by the time they'd done the 40 hours, they were different people and it changed the entire community. So we focused on the garden because it seemed to give us the most tangible results. First of all, while everybody else is going to feed the kids, we were teaching the kids to feed themselves. We ran another program in the schools. We had understanding with the board of trustees for one of the local primary schools. And we ran the garden at the school. We would Friday afternoon all the kids in the school to come along and we teach them how to grow their own food. It's not rocket science. And then we started feeding them. They'd have popcorn, breakfast, soup for lunch, and they'd go on Thursday day. We implemented that at the boarding school I worked at too, St Matthew's Collegiate. And we feed them properly, their brains work properly, and it just increases their mana when they, so it doesn't matter if you can't read or write. I'll show you how to grow some. And they'd plant sweet corn and beans and pumpkins, and the next thing their mana would improve. They'd have, I'd say, okay, your wife left you and took the kids and you're not getting on there, but just on your way home, here's some fruit and vegetables. We gave them something when they left the garden. They didn't leave empty-handed. They worked hard all day. We'd give them a little bag of fruit and vegetables, some flowers or something. And it just improved their life so much. They could give stuff away to the neighbours. And then when their 40 hours were over, we'd go and make a garden at their house. If they wanted us to. Or, the first day of school, I gave the kids a peach, took a basket of peaches off my tree. They ate them all. They said, oh, that's nice. Do you have another one? Yes. Don't throw the seeds away. We're going to go and plant an orchard in a minute. And, people thought planting an orchard was a big job, a hard job. Well, not really. It's actually really easy. And we can do it with no funding. I've proved that. But the more funding you give us, the more we can do. And our funding application was a bit on the optimistic side, but only because in our limited experience of funding, we know that you don't always get what you want. And the thing is that the more money we get, the more gardens, the bigger the gardens, the more different locations. So we weren't able to, I'd like to express my thanks to Catherine, who supported us by responding. This law to let us know that our funding application wasn't quite up to scratch, which I already knew. I based it on some estimates that I was able to obtain the cup from Bunnings and Waitakere, places like that, from steel standards. First thing we need to do is get some, because we're late in the season. Normally you start off in the springtime, you can get away with buying seeds. We were elected in February under the Maori Community Development Act 1962, where the Waitangi ki Poiru ki rākau manganga. So there's been this long-standing association between Waitangi and Rāwhiti, and our rohe covers the entire area, and we want to foster that relationship. And we want to operate this holistic model to improve people's physical and mental health, and we know it works. And we can, given an opportunity, provide you with concrete evidence that it works. So first of all, we need to bang in those standards, get up some windbreak. Ideally, we'd like a rotary hoe and a shed, but our long-term, we've got a short-term plan and a long-term plan, and our plans are flexible. Our long-term plan is to get more permaculture, which is more self-sustaining, so you don't need the rotary hoe or so many tools. It sort of takes care of itself, and mulching, stopping water. And also we'd like to be able to store a little bit of water. If we build a shed, just have runoff from the roof. You don't need much water if you mulch. All those sort of things. So we have this vision, and I'm not new at it. It's just that we did it before in the Wairarapa, and now I was living in Wellington, but I've moved home because I've got to Waitangi and Rāwhiti, and we just want to seize this opportunity the next 3 years till the next election to make the most of the potential of this committee, and finally, I haven't had a chance to show that Section 18 of the American Community Development Act. So right here, and it's to foster, conserve, improve, advance, and maintain. To promote, encourage, and assist marriage to conserve, improve, advance, and maintain their physical, economic, industrial, educational, social, moral, and spiritual well-being. And it goes on, but I won't read it out. You can read it later on. I just want to keep it short to answer any questions that you might have. We take our role really seriously, and we stick to that definition under the Act, and we want to fulfill our duties in a holistic manner, centred around this model of the gardening, because also there's recently with Matariki, and there's more focus on Matarai Maori and on the Maramataka and on Tēnā Rangitirutanga, because this is how you establish Tēnā Rangitirutanga. You know, by planting your own kai, growing your own kai, that's Tēnā Rangitirutanga at the basic grassroots level, and you go on from there. Gardens, you know, there's a certain amount of what do you call it? Resiliency in the garden. You can't just plant a seed and go and expect it to grow itself. It's like having kids. You know, you've got to either be there to look after them or delegate to somebody else to do that, and these, you know, people just don't cheap it, but get other people to come and look after the elephants and stuff like that, but it worked. And the results we saw were just huge compared to any other initiative that we witnessed happening in the community.
Thanks, Catherine. So then we have some questions.
I just wondered if you'd applied to Kaiura funds.
We haven't even heard that half the places to apply to, but I've been working with Jan Majari.
The timing of that was out.
So I'm just thinking
next year it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, there's other ones that would probably
it was. I didn't mention it at this stage purely because this year it's
just trying to find out when it closed.
It's next year.
We wanted actually to set up an office and provide more mentoring for people as well, but we didn't want to get too carried away in different directions, and so we focused this on garden because we found it as a place where people could come and have conversations, have workshops, have wainanas, without having to pay rent for an office. But the other thing is a lack of resources. People don't like there's no computers or printers or
no internet. That's the bigger problem.
Yeah, really wanted to set up a community resource centre like that, but we want to stay focused and just do whatever we can.
So, Catherine, you say in your application that you work with government departments. Are you funded by government departments?
No, but in the past, in Karaka, we worked with the District Council, with the Department of Corrections, and with the school boards of trustees.
So at Rafiti, you've got the 3 new key trusts. So are you working with the marae? Are you
attempting to? Governance is a little dysfunctional. Present, and we've communicated with them, but we haven't had any responses to our communications.
Because the other thing that's happened is you've also got the community response group that are setting up facilities as well. But that also is kind of like, so there's actually a container now that's gone in with things like so there's things happening. You need to try and connect up with all the other people doing things in Rafiti.
We've been forging relationships with them, but unfortunately we haven't been receiving responses to our communications. We might possibly go down to them in the future.
Well, there's 2 marae. You've got Patakena and Ngāti and so the best way is to actually see when the meetings are, because they have them over the same weekend, and then approach the secretary and ask for a slot.
We've been asking for a meeting for a long time.
Yeah, so see when the dates are and request it.
Yeah, I went to the last one we had, but there's been, as I say, groups functional, they advertise free and then they don't hold them. I keep coming way up.
Yeah.
Doing our best.
And then they don't turn up really in Colorado. But that's it.
Yeah,
Any other questions? Half of your expenses are rent for a venue, are they?
No, we decided to, we were going to apply for funding to rent an office and buy here to, one of the problems is Māori governance. They know about Maori boards and stuff like that. They don't actually understand anything about Maori Community Development Act or the Maori Council, or the fact that they all have a vote in the local Maori committee. In map areas, there's 4 tiers: the committees, the executive areas, the judge, the district mayor, council, and even mayor council. It's Maori going to want to do it. And we did want to have an office to share information so Maori governance could evolve. This Maori Community Development Act started off being Maori Council Act, 1900. So, but we've decided to because we can't do everything and we're a bit behind in the growing season, we put that to one side. We've decided that we can share our information, have our wairangi meetings actually in the garden spaces rather than hiring an office or paying rent or anything like that. The resource centre is a bit different. In the moment, our focus is just on getting the resources themselves rather than a building to put them in, because we have got unused space available that's already been paid for and sitting empty, which we could potentially utilise.
That's fine. I was just reading.
No, I would encourage you to keep going with the local hapu and just keep persevering, because that's really the most important way to kind of like.
We've been trying for a number of years, and we have got evidence of the dysfunction. And one of the things that the communications we treat for them and the lack of reply, and in some cases, active opposition, unfounded. Don't really get into that, but certainly the evidence is there. We've been talking about the years going back to I think 2014. This has gone on, and this.
To be successful, you do need community support.
We've got a lot of support in the community, but it's being organised with trustees of the various trusts. And there are, I know there are matters before the court, so in fact, that involving trustees. It'll be on, so we know nothing that's been filed, so that easy. But this going back is helping Maoris govern themselves effectively and engage with the community boards and councils and things like that. Then, we make submissions on behalf of that committee to, the last one we made was to the community on the draft regional plan. And this, so far everything's been funded out of our own pockets basically, because that's how much we believe in this pop-up. We know it works. And given an opportunity, we can prove that it will be successful, and we'd be very grateful for I would much Thank you for coming and presenting to us in your time. And starting to leave and coming at last. Thank you very much for all the work you will be doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll make our decision a bit later. I think we should take a 10-minute break. It's 10 to 12. We'll take 10 minutes and have a couple of break and a coffee. Yeah. What about? No, it's fine. We can pause, thank you. Sorry, Emery.
Hi, Karen. Can you give me us out here? The live stream. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Moving on to item 6.1, we have a notice of motion. Declaration of Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community for the Kirikiri Domain. The motion is that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board requests a decision report be provided to the Community Board on the options for delegation of the Kirikiri Domain at the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board meeting in December 2024. Moved by Mr. Eyre, seconded by Tyler.
Thank you.
Discussion lane is pretty explanatory.
For anyone that doesn't know the background, most reserves and parks now are delegated to community boards due to the fact that the Kirikiri Domain was used as sort of the central rugby grounds for it was held under as an exclusion to the council. And so really what this does is asking for it to come back to community boards. And then we will do this also. But anyway, the report is a start, I'm told, by young Kim, that that's how we have to proceed.
There is a process.
There is a process, like everything.
It's just a facility at the moment. So it's a two-pronged motion in the sense that the operational side of it and a committee and soon will be made available. Moved lane, seconded Tyler. All those in favour, raise your hands. Against, it's carried.
Well, there you go. I can leave now.
Moving on, item 7.1, page 10. Confirmation of the minutes that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board confirmed the minutes of the meeting held 15th of August 2024 are a true and correct record. I will move. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Thank you, Bruce. Any corrections, amendments?
Jane. Asking for any alterations or corrections. I saw you go to the Francesco.
Oh, well, no, I wasn't at the meeting. I was zooming in. So it was,
that's right. You're on.
I was online, so I didn't have quite the detailed recollection that I mean.
Silence is golden. Moved myself, seconded Bruce. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 8.1, we move on to page 16, we move on to road naming. We have Trinity here. The report writer. I will move the recommendation that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board name the two new private roads Tatayo, is that how you say it? Lane and Tera Lane, currently addressed at 3 Clark Road and 5 and 7 Clark Road, Kirikiri, 0230. I did add the word respectively because this is slightly confusing in its wording and in the map. So the first road will be Tatayo Lane, which is 3 Clark Road. Is that correct? So are you happy if we add the word respectively to it? Yeah. Or does it make sense as it is, Kim? Opinion? Do you have an opinion on that, Kim? Whether we should actually add? No? Yep. Move myself, seconded.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jane. Fortunately, yesterday, Trinity, I went to the opening. And checked out where the roads were going to be. I was very confused from the map. And spoke to Jen Scott and Kainga Ora about it and about the process of the road naming, and they were delighted that we were doing it today, and I think they did get a little bit of a fright when they actually hadn't lodged, I think, until June or something. So, we had a good discussion around, getting those names out there and engaging with the local hapu over the road naming early in the piece so that it doesn't hold up any of their developments.
Yeah, the only point that kind of stopped us was I needed, as a requirement, we need some form of physical proof that they have engaged with the iwi hapu outside of council, and so that was just, yeah.
You got it?
And that's, yeah, so.
Given Ngāti here, their presence yesterday at the opening, I would say they are fully informed of what's going on with the whole project.
It looked like a nice project was done in collaboration with Ngāti here anyway.
It definitely was. And I had the pleasure of meeting two queer who have been successful in the selection process of getting 2 of the first ground floor apartments. So much excitement. Anyway, any questions or queries, Trinity, around there? No? So moving on. So moved myself, seconded Jane. All those in support of road naming? Against? Carried. Okay, we're up to 8.2 on page 21. There's a Islands-Whangaroa Community Board name a private road, Patiriri. My pronunciation's slowly getting better. Patiriri Place that is currently addressed at 1597 Matauri Bay Road, Kaio. Do I have a mover? Bruce? Seconder? Thank you, Amy. Any discussion around this?
Just my poor language, I would prefer the second part.
Prefer the second name.
Yeah, just for ease of to speak.
I am saying it correctly.
Sounds like there should be a macron on the A actually. Terry. But that's the name of the street.
Do we know whether it should have a macron on it?
In the application, there was no macron.
Right. No, the stream hasn't got a macron on it.
Right.
Just sounds like it should do.
Yeah. Macrons are very important, I've discovered. Very, very important. Okay, no further discussion around that. Moved by Bruce, seconded Amy. All those in support? Against? That's carried. Carried. Item 8.3 on page 25. Thank you, Trinity.
Sitting here all morning.
She's learning a lot sitting here. There's things going on.
And Chair, though, road naming has got better.
Yes, we have acknowledged that. Thank you.
Much better.
The process is working very well. Right, we have item 8.3, recommendation that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board recommend that Council A, revoke the Community Grant Policy 2018, B, adopt the Community Board funding policy. Do I have a movement? Jane? Amy, thank you. I'm just going to move that we suspend standing orders for this so we can have any robust discussion. Do I have a seconder to? Thank you, Lane. All those in support of suspending standing orders for discussion? Against? Carried. Thank you. Right, we've had a little bit of discussion around this, but we did run short of time. Around page 44, we have the proposed policy.
We've got up to page 46 in the discussion.
Just in the school conversation.
So, yeah, so where did we get to with that, Jane? Did you?
We got 2 sections, 3 private place funds, and I had a comment on that.
Did we finish the community grant section of it?
Did you agree to put in community COGS in the brackets, excluding community organisation grant scheme? Or what we were trying to do is make sure that school events were clearly identified set for community benefits. So we didn't want schools to feel like they were excluded. Not that they don't apply now, but we wanted to make sure they felt that they could apply for community events where the public are involved. And that was the key thing, that members of the public could participate.
Well, it's the access as well to the public. And I recall we did have some examples of that when we discussed the Weeblix Triathlon, how they had shifted their event from being up on the open hills in Waitangi to the school it'd change the whole vibe of the event. It wasn't open to public.
So then we got to section 3, private place. So this is where...
Yes, I'm just sorry to interrupt you, Jane. I just had a query just back on the bottom of page 47. Well, it's actually on 47 as well. Activities deemed objectionable. Can you define objectionable?
Say if there was to be, I can only think of examples from Auckland Council, but we used to have the Dope Factory who would run community events, and so they were deemed objectionable. If it was a political rally, that would be, you couldn't be seen as supporting one of the other, so that would be objectionable. Crepe Day, which encourages the drinking of as many crepes as you can, would be objectionable.
Truly bachelor ball.
Yeah.
Obviously wouldn't be accepted.
Yeah, it's some of the, it gives the board a reason to decline things that may be controversial within the community, if that's what you choose.
Should you put in objectionable or controversial? Because you're saying that basically...
What does it add to it if we put in controversial?
Well, objectionable sounds like it's not nice, whereas controversial says we don't want to take sides. And there are...
Well, I guess I can give a different example of objectionable under pride of place. Not so much the community grant fund, but excuse me, the pride of place. Like one of the placemaking projects that Focus Pie here did, for example, one of their first projects was the toilet block by Flagstaff and Manukau Hill. And they put toilet pans on the roof of the toilets. And there was comment, some people felt that that was objectionable. So, are we opening ourselves up to, and yet it's the most photographed toilet, it's out there with Puntabasa. So are we opening ourselves up to minority groups finding things objectionable that are going to actually put, I can understand under the community grant fund, but the pride of place fund, which is a more creative, are we opening ourselves up to, for example, artwork in the form of graffiti that some people find objectionable because they.
But you make
I think this is a decision for us to make, and it's more than anything, it seems like this is an out for us that we can then be like, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just feeling how you might feel if you were told
objectionable.
Well, rather than
but you would.
If we're happy it's an out,
because if you were going to apply and you think that your project is worthwhile, you're not going to think that it's in your opinion, it's not controversial, so you apply.
Well, there's one this board funded that was controversial for a very small sector of the community, which was painting the rainbow seats.
True.
So I'd be very hesitant about using the word controversial.
It's too open to interpretation.
It's whereas objectionable. Most people can agree on what is objectionable.
So should we say not just controversial?
Then
don't
just
put controversial.
Say objectionable, and then it gives us an out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that answers my question. Right. And we have added beside section 3 pride of place fund, X placemaking fund.
Yeah, previously. Because the other thing I thought we should be adding in is referred from the council's placemaking team.
Sorry, Jane, I didn't quite get that.
So one of the ways that you get a placemaking funding application is if somehow you end up at the council, I don't know how, I'd normally be this way around, the other way around, but if they're trying to encourage people to do placemaking by having a whole department doing placemaking, then you kind of want to reference. And why are we using pride of place as opposed to placemaking?
So that it doesn't get confused up with Jay's team, so that it kind of separates the two out. So yes, Jay's team will come to you each year and say, right, we're now finished with Russell, we're next, and then they'll move to that area. What they can't do is work with every applicant who just wants to install an asset in a certain area on council. Or if it's a small scale program, not every placemaking project is going to be the size of the Russell placemaking
So the priorities that come through from the council's placemaking team, would that be a priority?
It's your funding, so you don't, trying to remove that stuff.
Okay.
I would be more inclined to put that in the guidance because you don't, it would be a block if you said you had to go through the placement.
No, I wouldn't want that. I just thought if they come through there, we go, well, they've already looked at the assets, they've already figured out it's going to be okay. It's already supported by council, so it's got a high probability of success. So that might be why you give it priority. That was all I'm saying.
Yeah, and we can put that in the guidance. Is that projects that have gone through the placemaking team and are part of their projects will be given.
We have some confidence that they're going to be successful.
So that is the crossover that I was referring to in our earlier discussion of operational versus, this is a document that is a policy document, and people are familiar with placemaking as a term. And we've done quite a bit of placemaking over a number of years in high-profile areas. So, I guess the Pride of Place Fund changing the name, I mean, we have a placemaking team. I don't really see where the confusion is around having to change the name to a Pride of Place Fund. It's like...
We have had a lot of conversations with communities though, and they are getting confused on all the different placemaking bits. So that's why for the community board, we said, let's call it the Pride of Place Fund because it makes it very clear what that piece of funding is, because the placemaking team doesn't actually have any funding. And so it's trying to separate them out just a little bit to make it very clear in the community's mind as well. And it's also much more descriptive about what this funding is and what it's to be used for, whereas placemaking can be quite generic.
Pride of Place was, I think, a way in which to look at a community-led kind of pride of place where a community organisation or a group might wish to do something that will make them feel good. It might be a small, tiny project. Placemaking falls into, in council language, a whole different, it's a big thing. And it differs everywhere you go.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there when you talk about council versus us in our governance role, is that pride of place has a different connotation to me to placemaking, because placemaking can actually be undoing something or preservation, protection, which I wouldn't necessarily call pride of place. So, I guess from a lay person looking, from the outside, and as placemaking is not necessarily, it's turning a space into a place, but that might not necessarily be a pride of place thing. It might be that you're taking a space and making it a place where people actually can't go where they used to go. And, so it's sort of, placemaking doesn't have to be creating a whole lot of assets.
Placemaking from a council perspective can often be, or in my opinion, a good example is to look at the housing projects that are going in, right? Particularly out here and in Kaikoi, is that placemaking sits as a whole lot of place to do with roading, parking, planting, recreation, housing, how people move in that place. A pride of place empowers, in my opinion, community groups to go, what can I do to make my place, but it just takes it down a level to the community level that empowers the community to have a little bit more contribution to what it looks like in their community. Placemaking can take that away. It can be almost too big sometimes, because if you look at places like Kaikoi, the placemaking will end up being beautification projects, small, and I get that, but actually it might need a bigger picture. It might need the parking, transport, roading components included, and I think that's often quite beyond a lot of community organisations to do. That's just my reflection.
I apologise if this is not a point. But how hard is it to change a policy? How is it to amend a policy?
It's feeling like quite hard.
It's very difficult currently, but
it depends on the policy and who has to have input to that policy.
Just make it difficult. You know, I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with this. I mean, I have some problems with some of the verbiage that precedes it about things that they want to talk to. But as a revised policy, it's not terrible. You know, a few adjustments. So we pass this and we find out 2, 3, 6 months from now that there's a couple of paragraphs that are not right.
So my understanding under section 82 and 83 or something or other under the Local Government Act is it depends on what you're changing. So if it is a significant change, then you need to go out to consultation, etc., etc. If it's not a significant change, then yeah, you don't need consultation.
So there you go. So then I want a definition of
significant.
Right. You know, I can go round and round in circles on this all day, and that's unfortunate that we're stuck with that because we end up dealing with these documents and it's a fairly fluid thing. I mean, I've sat here for 8 years and I don't know that I have an absolute grasp of what is placemaking and what is beautification. And, you know,
language changes.
Well, it does. And your perception of it is different than my perception of it.
Yeah.
I agree.
We all interpret it differently.
We do. Anyway, that wasn't on point, but you obviously strikes again. So.
Well, I think, you know, this is a formal document, and my thought processes are not formal. So, you know, the staff have a different take, council have a different take on it. And I guess to the council table, you know, they may have a different take on it as well.
I mean, from my perspective, I actually think pride of place to me tells me what it's about. I mean, you have done placemaking for how many years? You're very well versed.
Community's been doing it. They kept it off 8 years. Maybe longer than that.
So you're really well versed in what placemaking means. It took me a huge amount of energy and effort to try and explain to the Russell community what the placemaking project was about. It really was very difficult, and people just didn't get it. But and so it's been hard. But pride of place, I immediately think, well, you know, if somebody wants to turn that grotty little piece of whatever it is, you know, tidy it up, mow it down, put some rocks in it, make it look nice. I get that. So I think for our communities that are reading this policy and applying for funding, I think they would find it easier to keep it simple, pride of place. And I think you should put in brackets formally placemaking so that those people that do understand placemaking know that that's what it's for. It's
what the fund is, yeah.
Not that we're getting rid of one fund, we're just changing the name.
Yeah. And people are very clear that it was the placemaking funds and now it's called pride of place. So the people, yeah.
Possibly you thought it is there any more money?
That's the important way.
Now let's not go there.
That's outside of the scope of this policy.
I stand corrected.
Any further discussion around? So quite happy with all of that.
Happy in the motive term, Madam Chair.
Well, yeah, as I said earlier, I see this as something that we're putting in concrete for future community boards to work with and communities by the time this comes in and it's,
going back, just thinking about wages and salary and how we've kind of just talked about that, how sometimes we need to be funding that for.
So it's a different definition. It's facilitator fees that we will fund.
And contract the
wages, salaries,
And just for clarity on that, the reason we don't fund wages and salaries is because that actually makes us almost an employer and involves us in all sorts of HR rules. So we don't want to be.
You know, we've got to check they're paying their PAYE.
Yeah, facilitation.
Don't want to be doing that. Yeah, ACC money. Yeah.
It's worded differently. Yeah, there is a bit of flexibility there, but wages and salary is a no-go. Okay, people would be tough at school for this one. Bruce? All good? Okay, right. So we're going to be into standing orders. That was moved by Jane, seconded by Amy. recommendation again that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board recommend that Council A revoke the community grant policy.
Go back as a standing orders first.
Oh, you want a seconder? Move on a seconder? I move that we go in lane. Happy to second that. And A, revoke the community grant policy 2018 and B, adopt the community board funding policy. All those in support? Against? Carried. Thank you. Project funding reports on page 48. Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board note the project reports received from A, Brew of Islands 2024, B, Business Bay of Islands Matariki 2024, and C, Open 4. Can we go back to Jane?
I have a query, Rose.
Do I have a seconder first? Yes. Bruce? Yes.
In the supplementary information, we've got the Graham Dingle report, but it's not in the main body.
That would be my fault. My apologies. I will put that forward next month because I missed it this month unless you wish to add it onto the list. That's my fault.
It's just they've got another funding application.
Yeah.
And I'd actually written, I don't know what happened to the last one.
I was so caught up in the two Graham Dingle items that I didn't pick up. It wasn't in the actual.
That would be absolutely my fault. My apologies. That was the first week I was out of hospital when I was trying to write those reports.
Okay.
Yes. I'm sorry. So if there's, you approved it, don't you shush me.
Sorry. Jane, are you happy to add D, Graham Dingle Foundation, and to the recommendation? And Bruce, are you happy to second that? Yes. The project report is in the additional information.
From a legislation perspective, do we need to then put it in
the public?
The public domain, so they've got a copy of it as well.
It could come in through the chair. That can be attached to the list.
Yeah, we can just attach it. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I think then we can approve it because it looks odd approving a funding application when we haven't actually had the report.
Okay, good spotting, Jane. Okay, move Jane. Seconded Bruce. All those in support? Against? Okay.
Oh, it's in the treasury report.
Move on to our funding applications on page 63.
That's my fault. Sorry.
All right.
I will take these individually in the order that they are on page 63. Right, the first one, I'll move that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board approve the sum of $5,000 plus GST if applicable, be paid from the board's community grant fund account to the Bay of Islands Business Association towards. It's actually Business Bay of Islands. Can I just query? Did they know
they've changed their name now to Bay of Islands Business Association, I believe.
I thought that was it. They changed it to Business Bay. Sorry.
It's the applicant's Business Bay of Islands.
Business Bay of Islands. Okay. Yeah.
So shall we just amend that to this association or just Business Bay of Islands?
Business Bay of Islands.
Which includes Russell. So, sorry, fund account to Business Bay of Islands towards 2024 Clothing Christmas Parade. I have moved. Do I have a second? Tyler? Any discussion around that? It's the annual Christmas parade. It's in our policy that we. Okay, all those in support? Against? Please carried. Moving on to B, that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board approve the sum of $2,000 be paid from the board's community fund account to the Foster Home Northland towards costs of running an evening of style with Stacey Beeston. Do I have a mover? No?
The discussion to get done.
Thank you, Lane. Seconder? Second this to be on the table. Discussion. Do you understand what this is about, this event?
It's a fundraiser.
It's a fundraiser for Foster Hope Charitable Trust. I can probably answer any questions on it. that you need to know. Foster Hope is a locally based charity, and all the money stays with Foster Hope here in the Bay of Islands area. You would know Debbie Sutcliffe, most of you. She actually runs and fronts the branch here in Kirikiri, and they make up backpacks, emergency backpacks for children that are taken out of their homes in the middle of the night with nothing. And they have kids that have a lot of them don't have a toothbrush or a book or a toy or anything, and they actually make up the backpacks. And the reason they need to fundraise to make money is because a lot of this, just in brief, a lot of what is actually donated is inappropriate to put in the children's, because it has to be age and sex appropriate. And so a lot of the items they receive are actually not necessarily usable in the backpacks when they actually do children that pick them up. Things like even pencil sharpeners, for example, kids can self-harm those, so they have to be extremely careful on monitoring what they put into the backpacks. But these, it's pretty emotional stuff. I didn't ask Debbie to come and speak to it because as the event is being run by Leanne McKinnon in conjunction with Susie Livington at Livington Gardens out in Waipapa. As an annual fundraiser, and this used to be, I spoke at the beginning of the meeting, declaring a perceived interest, that previously in the Bay of Islands area, we ran fundraising lunches from May to December monthly in Kirikiri, mainly Paihia and Russell, and it just got harder and harder to get an affordable venue or a restaurant to do the events at, and harder to sell the raffles and get things donated to raffle off. So it was agreed last year that the committee would fold and that the fundraiser would be, somebody would initiate, Leanne McKinnon has picked that up, will initiate doing an annual fundraiser at a paid ticket price to continue to raise funds locally for Foster Hope so that they can continue to provide the kids and homes for that area. But that's basically what it's about. It's, I think when you read these applications, sometimes you don't get, and if Debbie had come to speak to you, you'd probably be in tears for some of the stories she has to tell you. But it's very real, and most of us, have this sort of thing happening around us in our communities and neighbourhoods. And a lot of you might be aware of the winter pyjama drive, where people can drop, they buy warehouse jammies for like $10, and you can drop the jammies into, Huts Florist or somewhere, and the thought of kids being cold in the middle of winter when they pick those kids up that have nothing, many people actually purchase and donate jammies that go into the, it's a winter drive, and it's very, very successful to go into those packs for those kids. So in a nutshell, that's what it's about. I will be attending the function.
How much you pay?
It's women only.
Madam, through the chair, I really I would support the amount asked for. I guess I just get confused if it was going directly to the backpacks or something in the backpacks.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Right. That was my
I have a difficulty with funding a fundraiser.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the problem that they have, is that yes, we could fund 100 pairs of pajamas, but at the end of the day, they need money to buy specifics for specific age groups, like if young teens need sanitary pads or.
I'm quite happy that they get cash. I'm quite happy that they get that.
It's not an easy thing.
And they can allocate it to whatever they want to allocate it
to. Materials.
Backpacks, yeah.
I find that the concept of funding a fundraiser doesn't make sense to me.
That's my issue too. And I've sort of ran into this before with other
Up to you.
So where they ask for some money so that they make some money.
I think it was to assist the guest speaker who was donating her time as well.
Through the chair, though, this is also leveraging if you granted them the funding they're asking for this fundraiser, they will leverage it to make a lot more than you could possibly give them
There's a lot of voluntary already being donated. Susie gave the venue for half.
That's a different activity. I'm sorry, Catherine, I appreciate it. And I fully understand the concept of fundraising. But I mean, if we peg this to the $2,000, there's $2,000 they don't have to use to stuff up their backpack. But that's just my thought.
Yeah, no, I'm like that too. I have difficulty funding a fundraiser.
Yeah.
The whole point of a fundraiser is to fundraise.
Yeah, it's, if you read it on page 65, Catherine stated the money would go towards some of the equipment hire costs.
Yeah. So I'd rather that we gave it to them for the purpose of maybe buying some things to go backpacks.
Yeah.
To feel more comfortable.
Okay.
Can we put that on? Yeah.
You would need to get them to submit a new application.
Strikes me again. But you're talking, in your experience, the 2,000 will basically multiply.
Yeah. This is just a token towards the event to prove the accompanying information and what's already been donated within the community. It's huge, but it's to enable any little bit they can get, because at the end of the day, Foster Hope need money to buy the backpacks and buy the stuff they put on the backpacks.
And clearly, what you could do is, if you wanted to, is grant this or some, none, whichever, and say future applications you would rather have an application for a sum of money for the backpacks or something like that. Future.
I mean, I don't not get it.
No, I exactly.
And it would be,
but I'm quite happy
You're
with that.
encouraging them to just apply for that instead of actually trying to create
They've never
that
never come to the board for the backpacks.
But they could.
But they could, because they fundraise.
And I get that a little bit of money enables them to leverage. I worked out, up to $10,000 from ticket sales without having to put their hand in the pocket and pay $2,000 for the cost of the event. But it's still the same thing, isn't it?
It is. The intent is, as far as I'm aware, is that this will just become a one-off annual event instead of a lot of ongoing fundraisers. There was a lot of work and a lot of vendors.
I get that too.
That's what's behind it. So in the future, they may be put in a position where they actually have to come to us because there's not so much being donated in the community in kind. I don't know.
Which means that every year they'll come to us for their fundraising events.
Well, they've never come to us.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
That'll look to the future.
Anyway, come on, it's up to you if you want to fund it or not.
What did you suggest? I'm quite happy to take the.
If you're happy to grant them this one or some, none, whichever, and you can say, but in the future, and I can just take it back as a comment to them, but in the future, the board would rather they just come and ask for a sum of money for the items they need rather than funding a fundraiser. And I can go back and tell them that outside. It doesn't need to be the resolution.
To continue with my, did I second it or did I moved it then? I don't know. It's my second.
Because if the fundraiser's wildly successful, they might not need to come back to us for the funding. That's the thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't agree. Yeah. If there's more potential in the fundraiser, and
well,
but I totally get what you're saying. That could.
So this is tagged, Catherine, towards equipment hire costs. It can go towards equipment hire costs.
Towards equipment hire costs is what they've.
Can we just, in my opinion, I feel like maybe we do, I would support this as is, and then in the future we just look at individual cases as on individual cases. I know we declined a fundraising event in the past, but also that looked like an event that wasn't going to be
as successful.
Yeah. So I'm happy to support it, I suppose, after some discussion.
It's not a huge amount of money.
No, and it's great.
Leverage. Yeah, $10,000 out of hopefully sales.
Yeah.
I'm happy to abstain from the vote, and as I said, I strongly support them as a local. It's all about localism for me. To make sure.
I don't think you have to abstain. I don't think you've got any conflict from sound.
None at all.
Yeah. There's no pecuniary
interesting.
Anyway,
I think you should put it to the vote.
Put it to the vote for $2,000 cost by Northland towards costs of running an evening style stays feast. All those in support? Against? That's carried.
Sorry.
Yes. Oh, no. But sometimes when things are, it's a cause I'm passionate about. There's not many local causes that I'm passionate about. A lot of the money we fund goes to central offices in Auckland and doesn't come back into Northland with a lot of charities around. Moving on, Graham Dingle. Get the Babons for our community board approved the sum of $3,000 to Graham Dingle Foundation towards the Art of Fitu at Babons College. Do I have a mover? Bruce, for a seconder. Jane, thank you. Any discussion around this?
I like the sound of the tears. Children being settled down. I think it's a great way of keeping these children building up through the community, taking responsibility.
Some clarity, Catherine, on the application. Is it for the employee to travel from Wanganui down? Is that what they're asking for?
Basically, yeah.
Travel expenses to go to the event. So the events, the mentor, what is it?
The mentoring all happens at the college. Yeah, and it's basically getting the staff to there because at the moment not just him. There's two or three of them, and they're using their private cars to get there, and it's just.
But they are employed.
They are.
Yeah. But it's what I just recall this last time around.
So I'm looking at their budget program delivery, which is good.
Yeah.
It's actually the delivery component. And that's why I was trying to find out how much was Northern College and how much was Bay College, but it's 18.5 grand. So $5 isn't, it's only a small contribution.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's
Three is the recommendation.
8,000 is the travel costs. That's why I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I mean, my view is that this is a really effective program for kids in an area where this PAC program is desperately needed. Roddy and I both supported it strongly last year because it was picking up those kids that would otherwise maybe not be doing productive things after school. And we both stuck the tour campaigner model, which is so powerful. So yeah, this program really is good. And they're a repeat offender, but the program's effective, so it works. It works. Yeah.
What figure do you put?
Actually, I'd give them $5,000, but I know the Gloria, I would give them $5,000, but I know the recommendation is only for $3,000. I think it's 100 and something children. It's not just one or two.
Yes, 146.
146 children. That's a good batch of kids to reach out to.
I support it too. It sounds like, that we're in a time when kids aren't showing up to school. They're not achieving. They're not doing the basics across the country. So if they're turning that ship around in a place that probably desperately needs.
Madam Chair, could I push under an amendment to increase it back to the 5,000 that we asked for? Somebody, could I get a seconder? Amy?
Amy? I'll put the amendment to the vote for 5,000. All those in support, raise your hands. It's carried. That was easy. Okay.
I agree, Chair, because it wasn't an amendment.
Oh, you're going to have a substantive motion. Happy to move that the $5,000, the amendment becomes a substantive motion. Move Jane, seconded Amy. Yeah. Okay, so that now becomes a substantive motion and we'll vote on that. All those in support? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Emily. Clearly food. The next one, D, is $5,680 to be paid from the Community Grant Fund account to Hidden Pocket Production towards the cost of the musical Flock. I'll move. Do I have a second now? Thank you, Jane. Discussion? Maurice?
I was very encouraged that she had got through the gates of the Creative Communities funding. When I first read it, I'm like, oh. But then I actually went to the website and checked out all the stuff that, was there. It's one of those that could be really, really good for the community to have something locally grown. And she's obviously got a huge amount of her own money, and I think even if we didn't give her the money, she would still go ahead and do the production because she's driven.
And through the chair, she's made sure she's got really good mentors helping her through this, because she really wants to go there, and they're going, hang on a minute, come back a minute, you need to take the baby steps before you run.
The only thing I didn't like about it was the funding was for the person who signed the application. That was the only issue I had. But there were plenty of other costs that they could have put the money for, so my preference would be that it was funding some of the other expenses.
Yes. So the board can say towards the costs of putting on.
Yeah.
You can tag it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, tagged to costs of putting on the production.
Production of funds.
Catherine, if you can pass back the why.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to have sort of good conversations when I ring up. It's not just, hey, you got the money, have fun, bye.
The name on the form.
Yeah.
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 We can separate that.
$5,000. Including cost of production is the cost of putting on the production of the musical block. Do we do a discussion on that? Put it to the vote, or some support? Against?
I'm abstaining. Thank you.
Okay, so that's carried, and Lane abstained. Right, then. We approve the sum of $3,938 from the board's community fund account to Northern Community Family Services for its financial mentoring and whānau support. Do I have a mover? Lane, it's on the table. Tyler, discussion.
They provide a service to the community. If they're not doing it, I don't know who does. They've provided it for some period of time. I don't think they're the most organised organisation that I've ever come across. But they do provide a service, and they're kind of picking up the disasters at the bottom of the ladder, which a lot of people, including Wins, don't seem to want to get up to deal with. Support it. It's not that I don't have questions about it.
Tyler, a seconder?
My concerns are that, is this our wheelhouse? Are we supporting, are we opening the door to something that we shouldn't be? And then also, like, I have some concerns around their organisation in terms of their ability to actually spend the money well, because it seems like they've lacked that maybe in the past by letting some of that money fall through their hands. That's
these are operational costs. We really shouldn't be paying for operational costs.
But that's all they have. With all,
but is it the community board funding's job to pay for the operational costs of these services?
How else do you give that service to the community? I mean, what they do is basically set themselves up in a facility, and they provide those services to people. I'm just concerned, quite frankly, if they don't do it, who's going to do it? Because I don't see the other people standing in line to provide that service. But anyway, that's it.
Amy, can you shine some light on some of the other agencies that that do provide the services or should provide the social services. We've been handed a lot down from central government over the years in relation to the social services. And is it our, at the end of the day, is it what the ratepayer would want us to be spending the money on? Is what we need to ask ourselves. Is it difficult?
On the bottom of that map.
No, yeah, no.
Through the chair.
Peggy.
I think this is a question that we need to raise at MSD, and I can ask them. I've got good contacts there, because larger budgeting services throughout the country often are contract driven by MSD or government. So I think we need to look at what the level of service for this whole sort of thing, the social service, is delivered across Northland, and see if we need to have a little bit more oversight of that as a whole community, because I haven't looked into it, but I do think that at the moment there will be a high need for the service across our entire district. So I think we need to probably talk to the agencies that can give us a better overview.
Would it be beneficial for us to let this lie on the table in order to...
Well, I personally think that, but I think that if we were to do a little bit of crystal ball gazing, and the fact that I think it's been announced we're still in more recession, rising costs, I think that this is a whole of district issue, along with Whangaroa and Kaikoura actually, so it's a regional issue. And we can talk to the regional labour market, or the market manager and the contracts manager with MSD, and see what they say that's available now. How in the past these things have been funded, and how we as an agency or organisation, I think as a community board, it's a very big ask, and it sets precedents. It's quite a big space to be stepping into. This is social development. It's saying
it's quite out of lane for the kaupapa fund, as far as I'm concerned. And the other concern I have is we don't have oversight of all the other agencies or entities or organisations, and they probably don't even think that they could come to us for this type of money because this isn't our loan. And, would it be better spent with somebody else who could actually deliver more for, better efficiency in a more efficient way? We just don't know enough about just because this entity has come to us before.
I agree.
I just feel like
I think your role here is really on the lobbying and advocacy on behalf of the service and as a community board, and the importance of it to the community, but not necessarily, once you start open a door, there's plenty of doors to open in these spaces. So I think that on the query that we make with government agencies would be that this community board would be interested to know what the level of services throughout our district.
Because I'm sure that it's not that we don't want to support these organisations, because we know that there's a need for the services and for what they do, and it's a lot of volunteer hours go into it, but we don't have an oversight on how qualified they are, sort of confidentiality behind it, the people they're dealing with. And we had a similar, and it concerns me when I see the figures over doubled of repeat people coming back. It's like, what are they actually coming back for? Are they not getting adequate services? Or are they just using that free service for other advice for every problem in their life when they could be going to other places or agencies?
Well, so therein lies the interesting conversation, as I do believe council does support a couple of social, a couple of services like that. So I think we need to unpick this a little bit more in order to understand it better.
We had a similar discussion a couple of months back. I remember when it came to food banks and us funding food banks, and what we uncovered at the time was purely because one of the volunteers was going between it was Morewa and Kitty food banks, and they actually uncovered
you know, people that were triple dipping, that were going around all food banks, and we had no oversight because we didn't actually, because of confidentiality. Do you recall that, Bruce? And it sort of made us, unfortunately, a bit wary, gun shy of funding. You know, when unfortunately, you know, kids weren't getting fed, and it was just addicts and other people going around using the services. So I think we don't have a clear oversight, and nor should we really.
It's not our role to be in that space.
Yeah. And yet there's people that are in these food bank and that do use and don't abuse the service and the facility. And we all know that those genuinely in need often never ask. That's something else we discovered through the process of people going through various churches and things, is that there was the grandparents that were in need and they weren't asking. You know, so
it's through the chair, I do think that it is important that a community board understands who is doing what and we need to understand as many social services that are being delivered. But we want to do that in a smart way, because otherwise we'll just be following, you know, a road down every group and every club. But there will be somebody who has an understanding of the community of social services around here somewhere, and try and figure it out.
There's a lot of trust. There is a lot of trust around as well.
Yeah, there are.
Trust, isn't there?
The Iwi Kotahi Tātou Trust, for example. Yeah, and there's all of these trusts that are set up and are well organised. And yeah, so we don't have enough knowledge in this space to pick winners or losers and stuff like that. We just...
Without knocking the volunteer.
Also, as an indication of what your community needs are at any given, you're absolutely right that your need actually might be greater in the age sector or in the disability sector. You know what I mean? It's the more intel we can get and provide that to a community board, the better off we are.
Thanks, Peggy. Thank you for that discussion. So, in that light, I'm going to ask Lane and Tyra's mover and seconder if you're happy to let this lie until we receive more information. Are you happy to let it lie rather than decline it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll put that move, Lane, seconder, Tyra, let this lie. All those in support? Against? So that's carried. Thank you for that. Right, moving on to F, which is to approve a sum of $2,000 for GST applicable. We pay from the board's community fund account towards Whare Mokano Games 2024 towards equipment hire. Do I have a mover?
Yes, I move it.
Bruce. And a seconder? Jane, thank you. They originally did, just want to point out that they actually did apply for $2,931 on page 65, and the recommendation is $2,000 based on the fact that they applied for. Was this the one that they wanted to make a 2-day event? Is one of them?
2 days.
Yeah.
But they have just received funding.
Foundation. Process movement, can I speak to that first?
Costs are a huge amount, apparently. But normally it goes from different lines, but they pull around the head. As I said to Jen, I said you got the short straw because they have drawn it 2 years in a row. It actually usually sucks a lot of money. It's on the buyer who's putting it on. Yeah. It's by invitation only. It's not open to the public. Oh, yeah.
So do you right. Oh, you have to have
the message.
You can only compete if you're
you go watch it. The whole community gets right behind this. It's a mess. I've never bothered to go because it's so massive.
It's free entry and open to everyone, but you have to participate. You have to whakapapa, is that correct?
Pay. So each marae.
Yeah. So will it always be held in Whangaroa because of this facility?
No, this facility.
See, but I have the opportunity to
bring it back.
Yeah, take it back to them.
It's possible. They'll put in sports fields.
Wow. They even have some sports grounds, are they?
I think it just moves the whole community, doesn't it?
Okay, well, we've got, Jane, did you want to speak to me a second there?
Yes, I mean, this is obviously a great community event. It's exactly the sort of thing we want to support. You know, it's got kids, it's got grandparents, it's got everybody coming together. It's good to see the variation.
People come from overseas.
The mighty Whangaroa again, you know. Somebody on Facebook complains that Whangaroa got nothing, and I can't mind just to be Sunday Christmas parade. That's because they didn't ask.
Okay, so we've got $2,000 moved, Bruce, seconded, Jane. All those in support? Against? Carried. Now we have a sum of $3,750 towards Te Kamura School towards equipment hire for the 2024 Whangaroa Arts Festival. Do I have a mover?
Someone that wants it.
Bruce. Seconder?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Lane. Bruce, want to speak to this one?
Yeah, I didn't get to it last year. I have been to it in the past with another camp children performing there. It was well run, and the World Cup, Belgium was my feedback on this one. And he said, yeah, it's sort of absolutely staggering. I did see somewhere, and then I talked about how it might be a 2-day event, but it was.
Is that the one? Is that the one I read? Yeah.
Maybe that's the squad silver, and I thought that was maybe they not. So I'm confused with one, I'm not really sure, but we wrong.
Yep, this year we hope to extend it to a 2-day event. That's the second day to hold a community gala
and market day.
There will be free entertainment. And local bands.
Okay. One little school, pretty.
Oh, it's fun.
It's not like this farm. It's quite an undertaking. Yeah.
Wayne, the second one?
Yes, no, I mean, we've done this one before, and they do a hell of a job for the community. It is a small community. It's a small school, a small community, and they proportionately they have a hell of an impact. Sorry, I've got to on camera. They have a disproportionate benefit to a community. You know, we have some large organisations in our schools that proportionately don't do nearly as well as this.
They did ask 5,220.
Is there any reason why we've scaled it back?
This is towards marquee, chair and portaloo hire. Catherine, do you want to comment, or is that purely just because?
You'd funded them last year, and traditionally you have come down on ongoing funding, and so I picked what I thought was in there that the board would be happy to support. If you want to fund the full amount, I'm very happy for that to go ahead.
In terms of bang for buck, what we're looking for is the amount of people that get the experience. And social cohesion in sports and cultural performances make a big difference in communities.
These are the little kids.
Yeah, and the parents.
Right.
And the grandparents. Yes, exactly.
The whole community, wider community buy-in. I just think if they're going to grow it to a 2-day event, this might assist in establishing that 2-day event.
But then they hire all that gear, they might as well use it for 2 days, I suppose.
Maybe we should put.
So Bruce is moving the amendment for now.
Through the chair, if both mover and seconder agree with the full amount, we could just change the amount.
Certainly do that.
Well, seems like they do.
Are you happy with that range? So that would be $5,220. Any further discussion around that? Put to the vote. So those in support, $5,220. Against? It's carried. All right, moving on, we have $3,000 towards the centre. Towards for the centre, towards facilitation costs for This Is Us, Here Now, Community Art Project. Move to have a seconder. Thank you, Amy. I don't have any queries to raise over this. I've actually read the application. It's great initiative, good message.
Different.
Yeah, I agree, and it's different. And it's,
And it's a different market that we normally reach. So, you know, we sport was Kapahaka and we support sports. This is a different demographic that hopefully we
really great if we have, you know, like the elderly community.
I like going into retirement villages and stuff like that. I think it's really cool.
Something about a potluck dinner at the end too. Though.
Yeah.
What a great way to bring people together.
No, I liked it. I thought it was a neat project. Quite different.
Yeah. Selective Catholic cooks.
As a lover of textiles, I think that this could be a major educational. I mean, I don't actually think a lot of people know anything about fabric and what is natural and what's biodegradable and what's not, and how it's made and where it's sourced from and what goes into, you know, the actual picking, dyeing, manufacturing. You know, we'll open up a lot of questions and a lot of, so I asked about sewing machines, you know, will they be, you know, sewing seeds, no pun intended, but, you know, we all grew up knowing how to sew and knit, and some of us crochet. I wasn't one. But, you know, these are the things that, you know, can you crochet?
Understanding and crochet, appreciation.
From a practical sense, this will probably likely make news as like a good news story because it's such a unique thing, you know. And
it is, but it's a worthwhile one.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be terrific. It could be a flop. No, but the fact is, I think the two ladies were, you know, although they're paid whatever, they're driven. It's a neat idea.
They're skilled, aren't they?
It's got Jerry behind it.
I think the fact that the Turner Centre is backing it is going to help them be successful. Because, and you know, good on Jerry for coming up with these creative ideas. We're not paying, we're giving the Turner Centre for free, so we're not paying for the rent of the Turner Centre.
The storage, that'll be a big store.
Yeah. So I think it's a big project.
They asked for
6.5 is what they asked.
They asked for 6.5.
I think the 3, well, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, could we make it 4?
Yeah.
I would like to push out a million to increase it to 4.
So I moved Amy seconded. Are you happy, Amy?
Yeah, I was just looking at so.
And I'll support 4.
Because we really do want to outreach it rather than just kitty. Yeah.
Just means more workshops. She said if she needs guests, she won't be able to help with workshops, which means they may not be able to, I guess, complete it all for Christmas.
And it would just be less people involved.
Yeah.
So a bit more money will allow them to go a bit further.
Fine.
Through the chair, Catherine, could we put a thing on this? I think this one is particularly important to get a good report back of people how it actually fared, because we would need that information.
Yeah, we've traditionally had good reports from chats.
This one really is these two ladies. I'm actually trying to take it back from being an Turner Centre operator for obvious reasons.
I'm sure they will be doing a report for the Turner Centre.
No, I'm sure these ladies do a wonderful job and it's a great project, but I think it's just one that we would be interested to see the numbers here.
And we could be invited to the pot.
Yes. Yeah, through the chair, as part of that reporting project, as they're running those events in your specific areas, we could ask that you're invited along to partake in them as well. So that you
sorry.
So I was going to say, through the chair, it's your opportunity to actually contribute the community board logo to them.
Yes.
That's a good.
Yeah. Yes, but ours might not fall into the natural recyclable.
Doesn't have to be the logo.
Ours depends on what they printed on.
Might have to paint it.
It depends on what they put on.
We'll
challenge us.
Art is about problem solving.
Yeah.
Oh, that's deep.
She's good. We've heard that.
Well, there's some pretty creative people out there, I tell you. Okay. Lane's angling at coming to the potluck dinner.
I'm very careful about who cooks for me.
Okay. Speaking of food, lunch is waiting for us, so we will move on. I've got $4,000 on the table. Moved myself, seconded Amy. I'm going to put that to the vote if there's no further discussion. Oh, yes, carried. Thank you. And finally, we have $3,000 from the board's community fund account to Waitangi Māori Committee for the purchase of a basic laptop for administration and establishment of community gardens in Rāpiti. Do I have a mover? Amy, move that to get on the table. I'll second it. Discussion.
I would just say that the application was really unclear. I know she did say it's just for the equipment, but she might just have to come back and reapply with, because there's lots of it in new hire and promotion and maybe just more clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. She had no support from the local.
My issue is that there was no evidential support from the local kapu.
Yeah.
And they need to be supporting this project if it's got any chance of success.
And in fact, her comment was that the lack of support was almost an animosity to her.
Which means I don't know that it will be successful.
So through the chair, when I got the application, it was last minute, and I put it in there based on the conversation I had with her and her promise that she was going to get me all of the supporting information, and that did not happen.
Okay, so moved Amy, seconded myself. I'm going to put this to the vote. Appreciate the laws. All those in support, raise your hand. Against? So that's lost. Okay, so we go back to, so that concludes our applications there. Item 5.5, then we move on to item 8.6 on page 137. The debate on Islands-Whangaroa Community Board note that reports from Chairperson Board members Lane Eyre, Tyler Bamber, Jane Hindle and Bruce Mills. I will move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Tyler. Take my report as read.
Madam Chair, I note that you've still got the issues with the signs and things. We're now getting the report that says when they're coming to town to fix the signs in that weekly report. So,
sorry, the speed review?
No, the broken barrier and safety things.
Whereabouts are you?
Oh, you're...
Refresh my memory.
Harry Park Parade, Waitangi, the broken traffic signs.
Oh, no, that's... No.
Different. Oh, it's different.
Yeah. Oh. It's actually the traffic safety barriers. It's the bollards on the ground, the wooden traffic safety barrier bollards and pedestrian barriers. Yeah, it's the whole Te Karupa is a mess at the moment. And Kim and I and Loris were actually going to have a meeting and discuss how to move forward with this spatial plan, and something's got to be done. But it was requested from local kapu that we not to do anything until we have discussions with them about what they would like to see. Because if we go and spend money, we'll fix something and it's not what the community wants. And we have to think forward to 2040 and how that whole area is going to. I notice there's actually some more plastic netting up in by the bridge there on that erosion piece for health and safety. Right. Any more questions? You'll see my lengthy apologies with my the typeset's small. I was having problems with my old desktop to actually delineate the topics. I wanted to bold them and underline them, but I won't put the reader through that. So you've got it as it is, but thoroughly enjoyable conference. Always challenging things, but a lot of positive stuff came out of it. Parts of it were very moving, and I think as far as we go as a council, you'll note in my summary there that Luka made a great impression. He's a fantastic ambassador, full stop, for the far north, and it was almost quite comical when people saw my name badge, this big, in the Farmers District. It was kind of like, oh, you've got that amazing young mayor. Yes, that's us. So really good to know that we have a great voice at the table, and particularly in Wellington and nationwide, he is very, very respected. And it was just great to be a part of that and to get the vibe and the feel of where local government's going. I wouldn't say from my perspective that it all looks rosy, but there's obviously changes afoot, and change is good. You know, we need to move with the times. So I think the saddest thing I came away with was the negative comments around picking the wellbeings to touch. I feel that no matter what they do, the wellbeings will always be alive and well at community board level, even if council are instructed from central government to ditch the wellbeings. We know that within our communities, that is what they are made up of, where we come from. So, great conference, and I just wish you were all there to experience and to the new building that we were in the conference centre, which cost millions, and it was the borax was poked at that too for the waste of ratepayer money. We were standing and going, but what an asset! This is amazing. You know, future generations will thank you for this. So all good. Next year, they have a conference every biennial, every 2 years. Is it biennial or anyway? We will probably give an opportunity in this term to go to another one, but for those of you that are planning on returning, I seriously recommend that you try and make the time to go and be there just to hear what's happening, because we're in our little bubble here. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening in other communities, which is good to connect with you. I've given Jan the highly commended award, which is framed, which you can take to her and present to the community. Yeah, which is very exciting. Okay, and it was great. I think it was the only award.
Fixation. So those of you that we have a fabric recycling place in Russell, which those ladies I think heard about, that they visited. And so they take clothes and they recycle them and they make them really fashionable and they sell them quite a lot of money. So that's one of the Resilient Russell projects, and they were the ones that so I'll put in a bit of fixation.
Excellent. So Jane will do her wonderful PR post when she gets the photo groups. We can share and celebrate in that award. I think I had been, Jane, it may have been the only Farnell District Council project submitted, which, you know, hats off to you, because we normally are competing within our wards or boards over our projects and things. So, you know, at least it keeps the District Council name out there, having us involved in that award. Lane.
Thank you, Red. Madam Chair.
Any questions for Lane?
I know the planting has been done.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there was some vandalism, but okay, so I'm thankful for that. And the other one was the Christmas parade. That is, we're waiting to see if another group will pick up the street parade.
Possible the road closure costs,
It's just, you know, which was hence the reason I moved. I'm kind of staying out of it because it got all testy and we were live. But I understand why they made the decision they made. I think they were sort of, that's the only two. Anyone that's walked through the domain, I hope you like the plantings that are over by the thing. And we have benches. We have Nadia right here donated some benches. Bureaucracy insisted that I have a price on them so they could be depreciated. And I made the executive decision that they had no value as they were donated, therefore they didn't have to be depreciated.
When they need to be replaced, how will you then?
That's not going to be my problem. These things will wait a long, long time.
Oh, that's naughty.
Not naughty. They would donate it. Why? We do. I mean, there are things, I don't know whether the community, you know, when it becomes a community managed thing, somebody can elect not to have those benches in that spot, or they can replace them, or they can do something. I just think it's less than productive to go through a whole depreciation project on some wooden benches. They have a back on them for old people like me, and they're a nice height, but it sets the kids at the high school level. It's fun.
I have to say they're also very well used. I
they are.
take several photos for inclusion in a report that we do for the councillors, and every time I go down there to get a picture, somebody's sitting off the seat. And I'm like, do you mind getting off the seat? Like I haven't done.
They really love the one that was at sort of the right angle thing, so the kids sit on both sides of it, do whatever they do. Yeah, so it's one of those little projects that we got done quickly, and there wasn't a lot of red tape involved in the process.
Because you just did it.
That's
the nightmare we cause the council. We just do it. We just go. Hats off to you, lady. Tyler. Thank you, report is read. Any questions for Tyler? Rubbish is becoming a real issue, isn't it, around the litter?
Just dumping them.
Yeah. Folks don't really litter. Yeah. Okay. Jane. No. Not that included. I think best draft the spatial cleaning. There's a workshop on that this morning. It's in Friday notices, I see. Need to have kitty wiper-based community where members are engaged. There is a working group. Yeah,
that was me this morning.
And Councillor Court's not here today because she's actually at that and on that working group. I think Anika Dickey's on there. I'm not sure who else from our kitty. So there is good representation there, so we can get reports and feedback through.
We also have another workshop on the 2nd of October that you've already invited to, so that they can continue to update and get feedback as well.
Any questions for Jane? Some work being done on the RFS behind the scenes, come
through the chair, just to update you, the strange placemaking report that went through last month to your community board got approved at the council meeting as well. So they went with your recommendation to close one end of the strand and so register on the other.
Jane came and did a deputation at the beginning of the council meeting on that, which I have to say was very helpful because
it's a bit hard just reading the papers and understanding the kind of the overall picture. So
yeah, I don't think the councillors were aware of well, some of them obviously were, but yeah, it's helpful, I think, for them to come and glimpse of that. And that takes time out of your day to drive over there and present.
I tell you, the Community Appreciation Awards are very, very popular on our Facebook page. So they need to do more of them.
Yeah. So after the meeting, we'll discuss Rory's nomination and then look at Bruce's area.
I've got 1 or 2 that I just haven't. I keep moving it on my.
It's really, really popular. It's the most popular posts.
Yeah.
That is up to 6,000
in my unofficial budget.
Yeah.
Got about enough for you to do one each.
I could sell a bench.
We'll give an naming rights to a bench.
Yeah.
Trying to line them up.
You need $50. I'll chip it out.
It'll be nicked, melted down and sold off.
Moving on, Bruce.
See an element of frustration here with the
our community hall, the council just dragging things out, so that leaks and our warm, and just.
You look like you've lived there.
That's it, sure. So,
Yeah, he does. He does.
yeah, we basically said, right, we're going to go replace the panels. We'll screw them on this time in case they do want to take them off and move on the field behind. That's our I think he's our dedicated chairperson, Kobe's watching this on. Right. He flew back from Auckland just to download the reply and we demolished all the stuff. And he hopped on the plane on Sunday morning and flew back to Auckland.
Well, we're lucky to have you, Bruce.
That, I mean, I'm not sure where we are with the Halls Renewals budget, whether it's been brought forward with some capital works for Whangaroa.
So through the chair, we've also got Waipapa Hall, who is needing some serious works done on the outside Whangaroa Hall. So there's several of our halls that are needing some, and we're not talking just like little works. At this stage, Waipapa Hall actually looks like it's probably the bigger of the issues that we've got going on. Lots of work done.
I haven't been made aware of the latest update.
Yeah. So yes, we've still got our renewals budget, but they're not small scale, easy to fix.
We need to do some columns and stuff around that then as well. So we've got a plan.
Yeah. Okay.
Just while Kim's still here, before we jump on, just to reverse for Harpsing, have any of the other community boards taken up the certificates?
No. What is different? How the council's bringing back?
Council is bringing back an annual volunteer recognition, and in Kaikoai we've got the wall with the plaques on it. So we'll be bringing that. I'm just drafting it all up now to look at what that will look like, and we'll be briefing the councillors shortly and asking for it.
Lovely. Right. Next members' reports. Move myself, seconded Tyler. All those in support? Against? It's carried. To item 9.1, that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board received the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board September Open Resolution Report. I'll move. Seconder. Thank you. Okay, Dane. Nothing there for discussion.
No.
All those in support? Against? Carried. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of our meeting. And I will ask Member Jane Hindle, if you would like to close us with a thank
Hei no e tātou, kia tau, kia tātou katoa, ka te atapai o tō tātou āriki a ihu project, e te araha o te atua, e na whiwhina tahitanga, te wairo o tātou, ake, ake. Amen.
Okay, and we can now stop our live stream. Thank you.